Welcome to The Next Man Up, where we explore the misconceptions and paradox around modern masculinity. Join me on my quest to seek the truth through unfiltered conversations with the men behind the masks, so women can better understand men and men can better understand themselves.
There was an exchange between Chris Williamson and Andrew Huberman just recently, and Andrew Huberman was talking about how it was a dating subject or topic on Chris's show, and he was saying how if you take a girl to like 3 different locations, it's more significant. You spend time at each one of these locations, it creates more memories or creates a better association than if you stayed in one place for the same amount of time, right? Which is what pickup artists have been talking about since 2004, right? And even Chris Williamson picked up on that, but he says, yeah, well, these pickup artists, they weaponized this and used it as manipulation and all this stuff. And I'm like, but it's true.
And it's a good date. It's also a good date. I want to go to 3 places over one place.
Yeah, because it's called venue shifting. That's all they called it. But if a pickup artist does it, it's weaponization. But if it's Andrew Huberman saying it, it's great brain science and everything.
Rollo Tomassi, my new internet friend.
Yes.
A long time coming.
We're besties. We're internet besties now.
I know. How did that start even?
I don't know. You reached out to me, didn't you?
I think I commented on something on one of your posts that I agreed with, and then we started going
having a back and forth.
But why don't you tell me who you are?
Because you're an intellectual like me.
Cerebral.
Yes,
we're
we're
cerebral.
Las Vegas intellectuals.
I know. Las Vegas intellectuals. Exactly. Tell me what you do and how you got your start.
Well, I am the author of the Rational Male series of books. Everybody tends to just reflect on the first book, which is probably the best book that I have in the series because it's the seminal work. I put that together from about 10 or 12 years of being on various forums. And this was back in like the mid 2000s. And so back then there was no, like blogging wasn't even a thing. There certainly wasn't, social media wasn't what it was today. And so what happened is right around the, beginning of the 2000s, guys started coming together and on user forums. And this was the pickup artist community. It was a seduction community. I've never been a pickup artist. I was in school at the time. I was in college at the time because I went to college kind of later in life.
Yeah.
And I was studying, I have a BFA and I have a BA in psychology, right? And I was just minoring in psychology at the time. And then I decided I was going to double major because of, the stuff I was reading on these boards. And I just was sort of a casual observer of this. And then I got involved in just the conversations because a lot of the stuff that I saw going on the forums had parallels in like the stuff I was studying in psychology.
Which was specifically, you got really into obviously evolutionary psychology. Did you just throw the rest out at some point?
Well, I did later because I couldn't major in, or I couldn't get a degree in evolutionary psychology because there was no program at UNR. Well, at the time, there probably is now, but there wasn't at that time. So I was more nuts and bolts psychology, like behaviorism. So that was like my focus was behaviorism and a focus on personality studies. And so when I was participating in those forums, it was just guys coming together and having conversations and relating their experiences in what we now call the sexual marketplace, right? But wherever they were around the world, it was just guys coming together as an aggregate of information. And then you got guys like Mystery, and you got like guys from Venusian Arts, and the guys who were the early pickup artists, who were taking the sort of this information and then taking it out in the field and field testing it, and then bringing it back and saying, okay, this worked, this didn't work.
Pickup artistry wise.
Yeah, pickup artistry wise. And it's interesting. I hate even calling it pickup artistry because it was really just sort of like dating science at that time. And it was because what they would do is they would come up with ideas and then they would go out and field test them, and then they would go back to the forums and they would just basically compare notes and say, this is what works, this is what doesn't. And then they would like make comparisons to maybe if you knew anything about psychology that they would, say, well, this is working because of this sort of psychological dynamic. And I think it's funny because in fact, I got a copy of it. I probably will respond to this on my next show, but there was an exchange between Chris Williamson and Andrew Huberman just recently. And Andrew Huberman was talking about how it was a dating subject or topic on Chris's show. And he was saying how if you take a girl to like 3 different locations, it's more significant. You spend time at each one of these locations. It creates more memories, or creates a better association than if you stayed in one place for the same amount of time, right? Which is what pickup artists have been talking about since 2004, right? And even Chris Williamson picked up on that, but he says, yeah, well, these pickup artists, they weaponized this and used it as manipulation and all this stuff. And I'm like, but it's true.
And it's a good date. It's also a good date. I want to go to 3 places over one place.
Because it's called venue shifting. That's all they called it. But if a pickup artist does it, it's weaponization. But if it's Andrew Huberman saying it, it's great brain science and everything. And it's like, so it just depends on where that same information is coming from. But the thing is the guy, they still have to like pay homage to Mystery for saying this, take a girl to 3 different places, go and create memories at different places. And then you create this sort of emotional association for we went here and we went here and we here, and you have a story. Right. Instead of just staying at one club for like, 4 or 5 hours, whatever it was.
And it's stagnant. And,
exactly. And now, but it's okay if Andrew Huberman says it, but it's not okay if Mystery says it.
Which is bizarre that we're taking dating advice from Andrew Huberman, given his story. And I know one of the women. So it's like, when he went on Chris's podcast,
he's just as much a player as anybody else. He just keeps it low key.
Exactly. I'm like, stay in your lane. Just please don't talk about relationships or creativity for that matter. Like we'll listen to your biohacking, blah, 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 blah. But like, it was just an ingratiating exchange between the two of them. And I'm like, let's not go there, like if you're going to lie, like I just don't want to touch that.
I know. Well, because he has sort of this professional brand reputation to protect. That's why
he blocked me on Instagram.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he has. Well, what's getting to me right now is like even guys who are like these sort of dyed in the wool leftist liberal, like guys like Richard Reeves and stuff like that. The stuff we've been talking about since the mid 2000s and discussing, if it comes from the Manosphere, if it comes from the red pill or something like that, it's weaponized and it's evil and it's manipulative. But if these guys who are just, they're basically just, influencer brands, they come up with it and they say the same thing, then suddenly it's great science and it's healthy relationships and all this other bullshit. And I'm like, why is it coming from me or coming from Mystery or coming from Mike or coming from anybody else? Then it's not. It's manipulation and everything. But if they say exactly the same thing using exactly the same sources that we use, then it's not. But the thing is that it's becoming, like Mike will tell you this, is the good news is it's becoming so unignorable that they have to accept the fact that everybody's going to end up being red pill at some point, like whatever.
Well, that's what I find so funny because obviously I'd heard your name, I know the Rational Male, but I'd never read anything. I was just like, I'd heard a red pill, I had no idea even really what it meant. And then when we started talking, I was like, I agree with so much of this. I've also studied so much of this. So it's like my perception has totally shifted. Can you explain the Manosphere and the varying levels of like red pill, black pill, PUAs, like all of that? Because I think that's where a lot of the confusion lies.
Well, okay, so I get this quite often. Like people will ask me like, Rollo, what's the red pill? And I'm like, how much time do you have? Because anytime somebody like uninitiated or sort of one of these normie outsider kind of people, when they're asking me that, if it's a mainstream source, like we're going to do this interview, probably against my better judgment, this interview thing with CBS.
Yeah.
If they were to ask me like, what's the red pill? They're expecting a bumper sticker. They're expecting somebody to give you some really quick hit, elevator pitch.
Yep.
And the problem with that is that what's become the Manosphere, and really what the red pill is there's so many sort of subfields to it right now that it's like it's a college major. It's not a bumper sticker. And I think everybody wants to turn it into a belief set, or they want to turn it into ideology or a movement or a philosophy or, a system of belief is basically what they want it to be, because they don't know how to fight it in any other way, because it's just one belief versus another. And if they can turn it into that, then that's what it's going to be. But the red pill, in my experience from, doing this for 23 years, is the praxeology of intersexual dynamics. And what I mean by praxeology is, if you look up the definition of praxeology, it is the science or the study of human behavior, in that human behavior has a purpose and a function. It's very pragmatic, right? And that's all it really is it's just a database. It's just, here's the information, raw, take it as you interpret it, however you want. So if I'm using stats, or if I'm using, I'll pull stuff from evolutionary psychology. I'll pull stuff from anthropology. I'll pull stuff like, there was just I think it was in Aporia or something like that. They were talking about the myth of the female hunter. And, like back in our hunter-gatherer days, women hunted much as men did. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they did this whole study on whether or not, ancient cultures and ancient hominids, females would actually go hunting. Well, they would hunt small game. They would trap like birds and fish and stuff like that. And they want to say that was hunting. Well, the rest of the guys go out and run down woolly mammoths and caribou and stuff like that. So that part of the red pill is anthropology, right?
Yeah.
Or we could use sociology as part of that. We can use economics. Like my good friend Aaron Clary is an actuary. He's done a book called A World Without Men. And what he did is he broke down in numbers what would happen if men just basically dropped out of, they disappeared for 1 week on planet Earth, and the impact that would have on the economy, because there'd be nobody to work oil rigs, there'd be nobody to to fill potholes and to keep the lights on and that kind of stuff. And so that's an economic side of the red pill. That's all part of the praxeology of the red pill. So you've got I wrote a book on religion, and religion was based on the confluence of intersexual dynamics and our beliefs, our belief set. So now I can incorporate that into the red pill. There's so much that goes into intersexual dynamics, and I don't think enough people really realize the impact of the relation between men and women, and how it has effects, like cascade effects, across other things that we wouldn't necessarily say are part of the sexual marketplace. And so that's also part of the
what?
praxeology.
Give us some sound bites there.
For
the cascade that we wouldn't assume.
Well, when I this is really good. I have a essay, and it's not in any of my books.
You have an essay for every single thing we talk about. I'll just be like, guess what just happened to me, or I just went through this, and he'll send me a post for it, immediately.
I used to do that all the time, and people go, "You just want to drive traffic to your blog." I'm like, dude, do you know who I am? I don't need your traffic, really. Your one click is not going to make or break me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just easier to send this to you.
Yeah.
But no, I wrote this essay called "The First Female President." Okay, and it was when it was in 2016 when it was Trump versus Hillary. Right now, I don't talk about politics, and I don't talk about religion, and I don't talk about race, and I don't talk about ethno-nationalism. I don't talk about Zionism or any of that kind of crap. But if it crosses over into sexual dynamics, then it's fair game. So if it's politics, and I'm talking about the ultra feminist liberal, if you were to think of one figure who would embody sort of militant feminism, that'd be Hillary Clinton, right? She's this empowered, she's the wife of Bill Clinton, right? And if you know anything about them, how they came up through the 70s, and Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan and all this other stuff, you would probably say she is probably the embodiment of feminism. Well, who could possibly defeat her in a bid for the presidency? It would have to be the guy who is the most hyper-masculine, most misogynistic, chauvinistic, most super hyper-masculine guy you could possibly think of. Who could possibly defeat the living embodiment, the effigy of feminism? Donald Trump. Yeah. Okay. So you have it's like two kaijus fighting each other. It's Godzilla versus, Mothra or something like that. And they're just, one's feminism and one's masculinity, right? It's like super hyper over masculinized stuff. And there was such at the time, there was such this overwhelming atmosphere, this understanding that there's no way that Hillary Clinton could possibly lose. Yeah. To Donald Trump. It was beyond the pale. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the magazine covers at the time that were saying, welcome, Madam President, it was on the cover of the time. They had everything set up because they were so like mainstream media, commercial television, even shows like what was it, House of Cards at that time, where you got Claire Underwood, and she's like, she was going to become the president. They changed the plot of the show to reflect a female president in office. If you look at the Super Bowl commercials of 2016, they were all really hyper feminist commercials because they had already done when you do a Super Bowl commercial, they're shooting those 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
6 months prior to the Super Bowl, they presumed that Hillary Clinton was going to be the president, right?
Yeah.
And so the essay that I wrote was just how overconfident everybody was that Hillary was going to win, and Trump took it away from her. And so what's the social impact of all that happening? Now, that to me is part of the red pill.
Okay.
So I'm analyzing a socio-political phenomenon that happened during that time, and I'm explaining it in terms of female nature and male nature, and why it was just such a stinging defeat, not just for the Democrats, but for anybody who buys into feminism and is was just so overconfident that Hillary was going to win. And it wasn't an overconfidence in Hillary. It was an overconfidence in feminism and female empowerment at that time. So I'm writing all about this stuff, and I've got to tap into politics. I have to tap into society. I have to tap into social psychology for something like that, which all comes down again to male nature and female nature. So it's sort of broadens the scope of the red pill. Now, today, everybody thinks the red pill begins and ends with Andrew Tate, or they think it begins and ends with Pearl Davis. Yeah. And they think it happened, it just started up half an hour ago, when in fact it's been going on for 20, 25 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, how I even first heard about you in the first place, I told you it was my old roommate from 1,000 years ago, who's still a very close friend of mine, probably some of the man I respect the most in my life. He's an incredible person. He's been an incredible partner. I've seen him in all stages of life. And he was like, you should check him out. And I was like, red pill, like Andrew Tate, like, fuck those guys. Yeah. Fuck those guys. Yeah. And I'm like,
women are property.
Yeah. Well, and even just you explaining to me, like, I know that feminism is ideological and a social movement, right? But I was like, well, there's actually a lot of synergies between feminism and red pill. You're like, no, they're different things. Yeah, different because animals. People try to moralize the red pill, and that we can't.
That's because that's a practice. Yeah. So when I talk about the praxeology of the red pill, it's like the red pill's like fire. Okay, you can warm your house with it, you can cook your food with it, or you can burn your house down with it. You can burn yourself up, or you can burn your friends up with it too. It's all in the usage of what you're doing. That's the practice. Yeah. The fire is the praxeology. It's not good, it's not bad, it's all in how it's used, right? So the problem that most people have, especially today in the social media age, is you can't tell people facts without telling them how to feel about those things. Because if you don't, they will hate you for it. Or else they will infer the reason why you're telling them these facts is because you want them to believe something. So what they do is, rather than try to combat the facts or have some sort of rational discourse about the facts that you're presenting, they have to turn the facts that are inconvenient to what they believe in, and they have to turn the red pill into a belief set. So they have to say, well, the red pill philosophy. No. I will stop anyone in the tracks when they say, like Pierce Morgan will say, well, what about the red pill movement? Red pill's not a movement. Yeah. Red pill is just facts and figures and data and statistics, and it's just the study of human behavior. In that human behavior has a function to it, like a latent function to it. Now, the practice, like we were talking before, if you talk about the black pill, if you talk about MGTOWs, if you talk men going their own way, MRAs, men's rights activists, the white pill, or, the Christ pill, the trad pill, the gold pill, the
pink pill,
the fuck your mother pill, I don't know, whatever it is, everything's got to be a goddamn pill, right? Yeah. And so what those are practices. We've taken this data, now what are we going to do with it? Well, if you're a MGTOW, you're going to say, you know what, fuck it, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, I'm out. I'm taking this data and I'm turning it into this, for me and for what I think is the best practice. It's just to go your own way and exit the game, right? If you're a black pill doomer, you're just like, oh, it's all about, commiseration with my friends. We're all incels or whatever. Yeah. We it's never going to work for us, but we're going to sit here and complain about it all day long. Yeah. Or looks maxers. It's all about how you look. I'm like, how come you're not a personal trainer? Yeah. Like, what's the resolution? How are you going to solve your problems? Like, oh, well, it's not going to help my face. I'm like, yeah, but you can still get jacked, right? But I love the looks maxers. But then there's like the passport bros, right?
What's
like,
that?
The passport bros are guys who's like say, you know what, it's all Western women, and we need to leave the country and go find women in like underdeveloped countries,
My
like the Philippines.
My
Yeah.
ex-boyfriend. He like ran by. He's like, "What do you think about me dating like an 18-year-old Argentinian
Filipino
woman?"
girl from,
Yeah,
from the whole
he's like, "They're
country.
just different there." I'm like, "Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I also know why you're in." Like, he used to have an older woman thing because he slept with his former stepmother, after his dad passed. It was a really actually tragic, traumatizing kind of fucked up story. And so he would eroticize older women for the longest time. And he's extremely avoidant. So then he went to the other side of the spectrum because he never has dealt with the shit. So it's like, I'm like, you're trying with this 18-year-old, obviously, aside from the obvious, because it's like, you'll never be seen. You'll never be an equal, like, or not that you want to be an equal per se, but it's like, you don't have to do the work there. You're going, the pendulum swinging from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you're not gonna, like, he's like, you're not weirded out by that. I'm like, I'm not offended. I'm just like, he's like, that makes a lot of sense. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, guys will eroticize, or they'll develop preferences or fetishes, whatever you want to call it, for whatever is the easiest, the easiest path from point A to point B.
What do you mean?
Well, if you like, if guys like say, well, I like a girl with a little bit more meat on her bones, right? It's like fat chicks try harder, like you start developing like sort of fetishes or preferences for like older women, for example.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to get with, for a young guy to get with an older chick who's like, the cougar dynamic like that. It's easier for guys to get with those girls. And then, so what happens is they go, you know what? I have a preference for older women, right? No, you don't. It was just easier for you to get laid because of that. And now, you've created a neural pathway that sort of helps you with your game with those girls, because you know what they're looking for, and you go and sort of cater your own sort of personal interactions with what has worked in the past. It's like going to the same watering hole all the time.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm just going to keep going here.
Yeah.
Whereas like you didn't start that way,
Right.
but you ended that way because you ended up, getting with a cougar, you ended up getting with a fat girl. Or it doesn't have to be that. It could be like a girl who's really skinny. It could be a girl who's with blonde hair, brunette, redheads, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then the fetishes sort of come out of that.
So would you say like May, December cougar dynamics, because that doesn't align with the sexual market value thing of men want more fertile younger women. How do you explain the attraction?
Well, they do. A want is not get.
Okay.
So, as far as like evolutionary psychology, if you're going to go, I'd invoke the name of Dr. David Buss. If you're going to go the David Buss route, if you're going to go the evolutionary psychology route, guys are looking for larger breasts, a hip to waist ratio, symmetrical face. Youth and fertility are highly, prized, or definitely an arousal cue. If you look at the again, I'll quote the data sets once again. If you look at, there's a book called Dataclysm by I forget the guy's name, but he was like the CEO or one of the guys who created was OkCupid. And so they took the data, and remember, this is the first time in human history we have like raw data for stuff like this. The preferences for men, like at what age do they think that women look the best? That's all it says, right? And for men across the board, from like 15 years old to 90 years old, they find women between the ages of 21 and 24, so right around 23 years old, to be the best looking, and it does not deviate from that. If you ask women the same question, it's usually anywhere between 3 to 7 years older than they are, right? So women tend to look for guys who are just a touch older than they are, because I think on some level of consciousness, like, women understand that it takes longer for men to mature into their peak potential. So when you read my book, there's a graph in there, which is my most infamous graph. It's the sexual market value graph. And I peg women's peak sexual market value at 23, and for men it's about 36, because it takes longer for men to mature, because there's so much more that women are looking for in a mate, right? Now people will say, well, that's crazy, man. A 26-year-old guy looks way better than a 36-year-old guy. I go, but yeah, if you're just looking at it from the perspective of physical attractiveness, yes, but there's more to it than that. If that guy's still like, sort of green around the edges, and he doesn't have any prestige, doesn't have any status, doesn't have any money, doesn't have any, like, is a bad judge of character, whatever it is. He's still sort of in a mature, because men mature much later than women do, even physically they do. But to get to the point where the guy is, he's got his business going. He's made partner in the law firm. He's become a surgeon or whatever. That guy has put in his reps, and he's got to a point where he's maximized his personal potential. Assuming he does, he's going to have way more sexual selectivity at 36 than he would at 26, because he just simply doesn't have the same depth of experience that has led to the things that make a guy at his peak attractiveness. Whereas women at 23, that's pretty much like, the joke is this. There's a reason they call it the store Forever 21 and not Forever 41. Okay, because at 21, that's what everybody's trying to get back to. The cosmetics industry, like you're 36 years old. The cosmetics industry doesn't exist because women want to look older. They want to look younger.
Yeah.
Well, why is that? Because on some level of consciousness, women understand that 23 is about where their peak market value
But I think
was.
it's this bizarre shift's happening where it's like, because of the cosmetic, industry, it's like the surgery, like everyone kind of looks the same. It's like how everyone's personality is becoming the same.
Yeah.
Like the other day when all the women were here, I was like, I couldn't tell who was my age and who was like 21. It's bizarre. But how do you also explain, like, I recently wrote about my cougar initiation, and I had this 9-month initiation.
Relatively speaking,
many.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How do you explain that? Because, from an evolutionary standpoint, again, from my understanding, like as I'm on the decline, technically I haven't peaked, but technically I'm on the decline. It's like I met this, younger man when he is on the lower end of the sexual marketplace, I'm declining. He hasn't come up yet. So we meet at this interesting intersection. Is that what the attraction is?
Well, the attraction is, first of all, you're an attractive woman. Okay. And then you also have preserved yourself well enough so that you still have, like I was saying before, let's just go back to cosmetics again. The reason why we have cosmetics, or we have cosmetic surgery, for example, is to create the illusion, at least, of attraction cues of fertility and youth. Okay, like we were at Babes in Toyland just last night, and the girl that was on the show with us on Access Vegas on the last one, that girl Taylor, right? I told you, I said she's just pushing 40. I think she might be 40. Yeah. She has 2 children, and she's doing bikini contests. Yeah. In no other time in history could that happen than right now, okay? Because we have cosmetic surgery. You can get Brazilian butt lifts. You can get however big you want your boobs to be. That's no problem. You want to get collagen in your lips. That's fine. If you want Botox in your forehead, that's fine. If you, there's so many different sort of like
there's stuff you don't even know about.
Cosmetic. Yeah, there's probably stuff coming up that you don't even know about. And like me and Kyle were just talking earlier about just being enhanced as a guy too. Like if you get on gear or you get on TRT or whatever. I'm 57 years old, and I'm in better shape than a lot of guys who are like 20 some odd years old, right? Because there's just this, if you look at the average weight of like people in the U.S. right now, who have like 75% are like overweight, and something like 35% are morbidly obese right now. When you fly back to wherever you're flying back to, when you get through TSA, look around you from your walk from TSA to your gate. Look at because this is Las Vegas Airport is a big, huge hub, right? It's an international hub. Look at the cross section of like people who are going to and from wherever they're going to, right? And just look around you. Those are normal people. They're overwhelmingly going to be overweight. They're going to be sort of frumpy. They're going to like men are going to be average 5'9", right? And so when you take care of yourself and you're sort of like this outlier, and especially if you're older. I'm of the opinion that age is not even that big a deal these days because we have such a global sexual marketplace right now. But if you look at just the average American walking through, the airport there, like a woman like you or a woman like any of the girls that we saw at walking the runway, if they walk through, Las Vegas Airport, it's like seeing a wild animal in a suburban neighborhood, right? Because it's so out of the ordinary. Or you see a guy, what is it? Men with 6-pack. What is it? What's the 6-pack thing? It's like 6%, 0.2% of men have a 6-pack. Yeah.
Well, I guess I know.
There are more millionaires, more men who are millionaires than have 6-packs, right? So just having that as an attraction cue it puts you above everyone else. I had to learn that the hard way when I moved to Vegas, because when Mike and I started doing the show, I had to remember, like, this is not like what the normal life is like. This is Vegas life here. And so a lot of the people who watch our shows don't have that same frame of reference if they're living in, like, Paducah, Kentucky, or they're in, like, South Dakota or something like that. They just don't have that frame of reference. And so they want to say, well, that's just Miami life. That's just Vegas life. So you're trying to, like, make these, general truths fit for everybody. But then when they see you, hanging out with you or whatever. But as far as the cougar thing is concerned, is you got a guy who is 26 years old, 27, 25
Met
years
him at 20
old.
when he was 24.
And he's on the lacrosse team.
Captain of the football team. Yale psych grad.
Yes, water polo.
Full academic scholarship.
Yes, I know.
So he's also an outlier. Yeah. That's the thing.
Well, the other thing is, like, you have to also remember that you're in a position that most women aren't. Okay. So you've got your shit together. You've got money together. You're an influencer. Let's just be honest. And so the side of hypergamy where you have your need for provisioning, protection, or parental investment, like, is gone. Like, you accommodate for that yourself. You make your own long-term security. So what's left? Alpha fucks. He's probably the best alpha fucks you could probably get. And guys, when they identify that, like, there's no way that 25-year-old guy is going to say, "Don't worry, baby, I'm going to take care of you in your old age." And like, I'm going to put a baby in you, and we're going to live like this nice, lifestyle of domestic bliss or whatever. It's like, and when you meet a woman who is, cougars are an economic phenomenon as much as anything else.
Explain that.
Well, so for instance, like the girl that we saw, I was talking about the mother of two and everything. She's got her shit together. Whether she did it on her own or it's because of child support and alimony, it makes no difference. The long-term security side of like women have the the alpha fucks and beta bucks, right? So
can you explain that for those that don't know?
So it's really it's a euphemism that we've been using really since the early 2000s. Alpha fucks and beta bucks is that there's two conflicting sexual strategies for women. It's called the dual mating. So, like, if you ask Dr. David Buss and everything, it's the dual mating strategy, which is women look for short-term sexual benefits, genetic benefits. Like, okay, the 25-year-old guy who looks like he's does lacrosse or whatever. That's genetic benefits right there. Okay, let's just be honest, because he's not providing you any long-term.
He had a roommate in Harlem.
Exactly. Has no possibility of outclassing you economically, right? Because the opposite side, the other side of that, is long-term security benefits. So once women get to a certain age, when they get to in their mid-30s, it's not about how you look. Like, I keep saying that people want to talk about the wall, right? And the wall being like, oh, well, women are going to look worse the older that they get. And I'm like,
you should see me at 23 or 36.
I'm looking at girls on the runway last night who I know, like Kylie Myers, she's going to be 40 years old in this month, as a matter of fact. And she, when I first met her, I thought she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
And so it's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing. So when a woman gets to the point where she's like, 29 to 31 years old, it's what I call the epiphany phase. It's usually the time where they think, okay, I gotta get out of the sexual marketplace. I gotta find a guy for the long term. I want to get married. I want to have babies. My mom keeps asking for grandchildren, that kind of stuff. But the thing is like, that's the long term side of it. That's the beta buck side. It's provisioning, protection, and parental investment. Okay, and so it used to be, prior to the sexual revolution, that was a prime attraction cue from women towards men. So if a guy had a good job and he looked like he was physically fit enough to defend her, and he was invested in his own children as a father, and he was takes the kids to baseball practice and reads to them on at night or whatever. The guy who was invested in his kids, that was an attraction cue for women prior to 1960, prior to the pill, right? Prior to the sexual revolution. Now, since then, what 60, 65 years since that, women have got to the point where they take care of that side themselves. Yeah. So there's the short-term sexual, which is that guy's hot and I want to fuck him just for the sake of fuck. It's the proximate goal, right? The approximate outcome and ultimate outcome is. So proximate outcome is that guy's hot. He's the hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. You were drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. Okay, that's the 25-year-old guy. It's just a validational sexual experience. He's the guy who fucks, and you want to fuck him. Then there's the guy who's the good. It's cads versus dads, right? He's not a good candidate for the long term, but he's certainly a good candidate for the short term. And then later on, when when they're sort of checking out of the sexual marketplace, that's when they were looking for a guy who's still hot. Don't get me wrong; they still want physicality involved, but he also has to have value added. Value added is protection, provisioning, and parental investment. However, that sort of plays out culturally. So you have to remember that all of this, while these are like sort of like uniform truths about men's nature and women's nature, contextually, we're in one of the richest societies in the world, in the United States. But if you are in a fishing village on the coast of Chile and you happen to have a pickup truck and nobody else has a pickup truck, you're the man in that. So it just depends on the context and the social context as well and how that sort of plays out. There's probably much fewer cougar situations in the fishing village on the coast of Chile than there is in Brickell in Miami.
Yeah.
So, or you can also look at, like, say, the dynamics between sugar babies and sugar daddies. Like, that doesn't really that might play out in Colombia and Medellin, but it doesn't play out in the rest of the.
What do you mean by play out?
Well, you'll see less instances of that. It's only really doable in richer societies and societies where that's in some cases the norm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I talk about the hierarchy a lot, and I just find it so puzzling because in my opinion, I think that transactional hypergamy should be at the top, as in, like, that's worse than escorting to me because you're selling, like, your soul and your body. Like, let's look at Georgina Chapman, Harvey Weinstein's ex, or Melania, right? It's like, everyone loves Melania because she doesn't give a fuck. So it's cool to not give a fuck and hate your husband. But, like, when I was an escort, I had sex for money. And it was completely what it was because I couldn't fake emotions. I could never do that, right? And it's like, for some reason, we're celebrating this transactional hypergamy, but then, like, sugaring is also, in my opinion, like, a lot worse because there's no clear boundaries. A lot of the men that have been blacklisted from, like, sex work, from on the client side there, then go to sugaring. And the women are taken advantage of. And it's just like, but that's better because I'm not an escort. I'm not an actual sex worker. So it's just really interesting to, like, dissect the morality and what meaning people make of all that. And on that note, I want to read one of my favorite quotes from you.
Okay.
About body count. So, Rollo, do you think body count matters? And you said,
no.
Absolutely. And the higher, the better. I need a girl who's BTF from the jump.
Yes.
For guys after 50, all that pretentious bullshit about long-term commitment should melt away to sexual expediency. It's not about experience or some contrived want for a virgin bride. It all comes down to guys who fuck and guys who don't. If we're talking from the perspective of evolutionary effectiveness, women and men with higher body counts are effectively proven commodities in a sexual economy.
Yep.
That's when I was like, I love you.
Yes.
Can you explain that? Let's unpack that.
Well, one of the things that people always like, remember when I told you about the difference between giving people facts and figures and then telling them how to feel about it? This is the telling them how to feel about it part here. So whenever I'm on Fresh and Fit, or I'm on, another podcast, or I get interviewed, like, on Valuetainment, or hell, even when we're just on Access Vegas, and we start talking about stats and, like, body count. Body count was a huge topic for the longest time because it digs into guys, who don't fuck, like guys who are watching the shows and everything. I want a girl who's a pure virgin bride from, the Amish Dutch country in Pennsylvania. Like, they're looking for something that simply is so, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it is such a rare animal that in that rare animal doesn't want to have anything to do with some asocial sort of, psychotic spurt, right? They don't want to have anything to do with that guy. So it's really just sort of a cop-out. It's one of these things where guys will make up whatever reason they can not to go out and do something, not to go out and make approaches, not to go out and be social, not to go out and it's an excuse for inaction is what it is, like anything else. But so body count is one of those stats and data sets that is interpreted in such a way that guys think that it's it's indicative of these whores that are, you know, all over the place and they just want to have sex with just, you know, Chad. And it's like sort of this incel mentality, but it's almost like more, it's definitely weaponized, like autism is what it is. But it's guys who want to find some reason not to do anything, right? And that's one of many.
But aren't we told too, from an evolutionary standpoint, like a woman that's had a lot of sexual partners is like danger zone because so how do you reconcile that?
So it depends on what time or what part of life you happen to be in, right? Remember, I'll also put a caveat in there, like after 50, all the pretentious bullshit should melt away, right? Because if you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, right? That you're looking for something way different than you were when you were like in your 20s or your 30s, right?
We'll also argue like a woman that did sex work versus a woman who has like compulsive sexual behavior or any.
Well, I got another agitating tweet that I put out not too long ago, and it was better an honest whore than a prude who's going to tell you that she's sexual and wants to marry you, and now you're locked in for life with this chick who just wants to do vanilla starfish sex with you all the time. And said that she, you know, sort of like bait and switch, you know, decided that it's a loss leader is what it is. It's like a loss leader into a lifestyle of babies and stuff like that. But it's guys who see how promiscuous their girl was before, and then with them they're a prude. Like I married a slut who fucks like a prude, right? And so I've
had all my fun.
I've had all my fun, and no fun for you.
I had so much
we
fun.
got to get serious, but I want fun. You know, no, it says. Well, I have this one post that's called "Saving the Best," and I could not have written it in any other era in human history than now, because we have digital media, and we have Instagram, we have social media. So everything that, like, you go look on Instagram, you go look at the girls from last night, all that stuff that was shot on video or where it's been an Instagram reel, it exists somewhere on the internet. And if you are so self-absorbed as a guy to say, I want a girl who's pure and, you know, puritanical or whatever, and you go back and you find out that your girl was walking the runway at Babes in Toyland in 2025, that might be enough to say, oh, well, she's a whore and I'm not going to marry her. You know, don't, you know, what? No hymen, no diamond. You know, it's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
like, can we come up with anything that's more pretentious than that? And the thing that gets me is, so body count is one of these things where it's like, the idea is this, that is, if a woman has a higher body count, she is less able to sustain a marriage, higher incidence of divorce, can't pair bond, and there's this, you know, has a higher instance of STDs or whatever. My approach is this: is all that. Can I prove that statistically? Yes, I can. There's the data's there. Okay, how you interpret that data is different. So, one of the things that I always throw out is, like, if you have a woman who has, let's just say, a 20 body count, and then you have another woman who is 3 body count. Okay. If a woman has a 20 body count and you are the most alpha, most impactful, most dominant, most guy who rocks her world in bed, and you have your shit together, and she looks up to you and admires you, and it's like the adorer and the adoree, like she just adores you, like, and she's got a 20 body count. Does that mean that does that mean you're just gonna say, fuck it? Let's go to the chick with the 3 body count. Okay. One of those dudes from her 3 guys is, you know, a war hero who died in Iraq or something like that. Or it's a guy who is just like, he is the most dominant alpha that she has ever been with. And she's going to be, whether he's alive or dead, right? Like maybe it's a previous boyfriend. It's what I call the alpha widow phenomenon. If that woman is an alpha widow, either, like, you know, literally or figuratively speaking, and she's only got a 3 body count, but she can't get over her ex, which one do you want to get with? Which one would you get with?
Yeah.
You will get with the one with the 20 body count who just worships the ground that you walk on, rather than the one who is, like, still hung up on her ex, because you will forever live in the shadow of that ex. Now, here's the thing is, if you take a pool of 20 guys, odds are that one of those guys, or maybe 2 or 3 of those guys in that 20 body count, is the guy that she can't get over, right? Or she's going to, that was the metric that she compares you to. Whereas if a woman has, like, only 3, the odds are that if you can outshine any of those 3 and be the guy, then maybe 3 is better for you. So the pool of men for body count is really what those guys focus on. Okay.
Yeah.
But that whole scenario that I just gave you between those two women right there doesn't make any fucking difference once you get past a certain age. And so what gets me is these guys are like, I would never marry a girl like that. And then the next tweet is like, fuck marriage, never get married.
Yeah.
Like, then why do you care about whether or not you would marry? So, but you would get married? No, fuck marriage. Okay, well, fine then. I would never get with a girl who has tattoos.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, well, why is that? Because they're more promiscuous. I would never marry a girl with tattoos. It's like, what is that? It's like putting bumper stickers on a Lamborghini, you know? And I'm like, okay, so you're anti-marriage, but you wouldn't get with a girl who's tattooed. Like, you're not going to marry her anyway. So what the fuck do you care? It's again, and that's what leads me to think that all this is just code for inaction.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't care if you got I grew up in the fucking late '80s, early '90s, and you want to talk about tattoos? That's a green flag, not a red flag.
Yeah.
You're not going to marry them. Guess what? Tattoos mean she's more promiscuous, and if that's all you're down for, then that's the thumbs up. Go for it, man, because the likelihood is better. It just depends on what you're looking for. But these guys are just so fucking conflicted. They're looking for this. It's what is it? The Madonna whore thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I talk about this a lot.
But they're so conflicted. Like, well, I want to marry a good pure girl from purity. Their women are selling purity, and it's like, no, they're not fucking selling purity.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the body count thing, people will, like, just because I give you the data saying women are less likely to be able to form pair bonds, and all, divorce is higher instance if a woman has a higher body count.
Isn't it the same for men too?
It is the same for men as well. But it just depends on, men approach sex differently than women do, though. Because men can compartmentalize the sex act from an emotional investment. That's why one of the things I know, Mac and Murphy has brought this up on several occasions. We're like, well, men are also less likely. I go, yeah, but the guys who can fuck are way more rare. Like, the guys who have the same kind of body count that women do, that guy is like elite level. Whereas women, it's much easier for them to rack up a body count than it is for a guy.
Totally.
A guy racking up that kind of body count, that's an accomplishment. For women, it's a little bit easier. So, but when you're trying to appeal to a female audience, that it seems like, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's like, get the fuck out of here with that.
But what you said was so interesting, like the honest whore thing. Because I like to think I'm an honest whore. And when I was doxxed, a few years ago, it was crazy to see how many female friends I lost. And how many male friends, like, I didn't lose any male friends. In fact, they were just very, like, curious and respectful. They didn't, like, fetishize it. Maybe.
What's your pricing structure?
Yeah, exactly. Let me know.
What's your breakdown? Show me the menu.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. But it was just, people want honesty. It's like I've never cheated on anyone, for example. That is so confusing to people. Also, that I chose sex work. I don't come from, like, trauma, capital T trauma. My parents are still together. They're great. People want a trauma story associated with that. So if I can't give that to them, they're like, it's polarizing for people, right? Just like owning, I did this. And I also am a very loyal partner, and I believe in monogamy. And, like, those are I call myself tradical, Yeah. Like, it's confusing.
Well, so like, when people ask, like, I throw out the data sets. I try to stay as objective and as analytical as I possibly can. Because that's the praxology of the red pill. Now, if you're going to ask me personally, whether on camera or off camera, hey, what do you think about what's your interpretation of this? I'm going to tell you, after a certain age, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Well, you should care. You're the rational male, blah, blah. I'm like, you're asking me what my opinion is of this. I'm going to give you my opinion of this.
Yeah.
And it's not, you guys aren't going to like it because you think that just because I told you that. Remember I said, if you tell people facts, they will either hate you for it, or they will try to insert and infer the reason why you're telling them that. So if I'm telling you that women cannot pair bond better, or they have a higher instance of STDs and a higher instance of divorce, if I do that, they infer that that's some sort of, like, puritanical, like, I align myself or I endorse these stats the same way they do. I'm like, no, I'm just telling you the facts. Do you want to know how I interpret those facts? I don't care.
Yeah. Well, you're also a very polarizing person because you've been married for, like, 30 years. You have a daughter, and it's like, and yet a lot of the perception is out of the gates, like, you're a misogynist. And it's like, no, you have a healthier family life than, like, 99.99% of people. It's people don't know what to do with that. They can't reconcile with this.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to pivot into
the other part. The last part of that though is this: is like, so when they find that, they lose their shit. Like, oh, roll's falling off, right? And but the facts of the matter is like, whenever I'm talking about body count, like, I'm in my 50s right now. So if I were to find myself suddenly single tomorrow, I've already gone through having kids. I've already gone through, ups and downs, taking care of, aging parents. My parents are gone, right? I've gone through all that. My father died from dementia, Alzheimer's. I've already gone through that. I've gone through all the things that you're supposed to go through as a mature male adult, and whether it's in marriage or it's in family or whatever. I've gone through all of that stuff. And so at 50, if you have gone through all of that shit, I'm not looking for a new wife. I'm not looking for like, people like shit all over Mike for like being 47 and having a 22-year-old girlfriend. It's like, yeah, well, he's already gone through a certain phases of life, and he's not looking to start this sort of traditional, Midwestern style family. He's looking for specific, characteristics in women if he wants to get into some kind of, because I've known Mike when he had a girlfriend, I've known when he's single. And so after a certain age and after a certain level of experience, like most of these guys that I work with in my Reignite program, they're not looking for another wife. They just got out of a horrible divorce or whatever. And these guys are in, their mid 40s and mid 50s. And once you've gone through those certain phases of maturity, you're not looking to like have another wife and have more kids and start over again at that age. Because physically it's taxing, let's just say. But you're not like, guys after a certain age aren't necessarily looking for a woman who doesn't have, how ridiculous would it be for me to say, I want to find a girl who's like 55 years old and she's a virgin and she's never had any kids and has no fucking baggage. Yeah. Imagine me trying to like be as pretentious as that. So really, once you get to that point, once you get past a certain age and you've gone through a certain, phases of your own maturity as a guy, are you DTF or are you not? Do you want to fuck me? Do you want to fuck me better than my ex-wife? Because she was all into starfish sex and it was just a fucking nightmare. I'm just looking to have a fucking good time. Oh, you're 22? That's even better, right? Yeah. Or you're 35? Even better.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I want to go into the 16 commandments. Okay. Because this is going to be really fun.
I didn't write these, by the way. This is Royce who wrote them.
I know. But this is like the 16 commandments of the red pill. Is that Poon. What this is?
It's technically the literal title of it is the 16 commandments of Poon. It was written by a blogger named Royce. You need the history first. Back in the day, back in 2009 to about 2012, 2013, there were three bloggers that sort of ruled the red pill / what would become the Manosphere universe. It was the three R's, which was Roosh, Royce, and Rollo. And so Royce used to run, he's stopped blogging since, but it used to be a blog called Royce in DC, because he was in Washington, DC. And then he got doxxed. And then he was going to close the blog, but then somebody convinced him to keep it open and bought it out from under him. And he kind of like started blogging again under another pseudonym, and it was called Heartiste.com. And it's now Heartiste. If you want any of the archives, it's heartiste.org. And his most seminal post was the 16 commandments of Poon, which you're going to give me.
Okay.
So there's the history for you.
Okay. So number 1, never say I love you first. Mm-hmm. So I'm going back to my relationship history, and for me, that becomes a Mexican standoff. It's like, I have not, but I have seen it work too if a man's just more like stoic or reserved, and it's like, he loves you, but when it becomes weaponized, which it certainly has in relationships too, it's like, I'm not doing it. Do you really think that works?
Who do you think is more, what sex do you think is more likely to say I love you first, men or women?
Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Statistically speaking, they're the ones that are going, because most men don't fuck. Okay. Right. Remember we were talking about the 80, 20, 45% rule, or 4.5% rule. Most of the guys who are 80%ers or 20%ers, they can't believe their luck. They can't believe they got, so especially if you're younger, and I know because I can tell you this from experience, right? If you get with a chick and you're walking in the desert of like no sex, and suddenly appears this oasis of this one woman who will actually suck your dick and she will actually have sex with you. you want to lock that down because you have been in such a state of deficit for so long that she must be the one because she's the only one that you've had in ever, really. Or, it's so few and far between, and you must have done something right or whatever. And you get with that chick and she's having sex with you. All of a sudden, you want to find some way to lock that down. How do you do that? You overinvest emotionally. And so what is the manifestation of that? Saying that I love you first. But there's so many studies on this about how guys say, I love you first. So I think me interpretively, for that data, I'm going to say that it's because most guys don't fuck. And they want to find ways to lock that girl down into a relationship so they can keep fucking.
Right.
And how do they do that? I love you. Let's form an emotional bond or emotional connection first. The reason why that is a rule in the first place is because it puts men in the adoree category. The one that, like, I hate to use the word chase, right? Remember the one that was,
I got offended.
I agree with you 100%.
I was like, I will never chase a man.
I hate the term chase because like Rich Cooper will always say something like, don't chase women, chase excellence. And whenever I think about that, I'm like, what, am I chasing girls on the fucking playground to pull their pigtails or something like that? Like, it's stupid. But what it does is it sort of it kind of infantilizes the dynamic between a guy being in a position of the dominant position and then the follower, right? The woman who looks up to that guy. I've always said this is the reason why that like when everybody says relationships should be 50-50 and egalitarian, I'm like, absolutely fucking not. And human beings don't work that way either. Even in homosexual relationships, there's always a top and there's always a bottom. There's always a dom and there's always a sub. Yep. Okay. So you have the dom and the sub. Usually the dom is the man and the sub is the woman. Right? And so the woman should ideally, I think, be looking up to the guy. So like I always said, like women can't look up to a man who is her equal. And so if that guy is just a little bit above, like women want a guy to make 38% more money than she does. That's the adorer or adoree thing. Yeah. That's just one manifestation of it. It could be like we say it's so manipulative if the guy is he doesn't say I love you first, right? Because ideally men and women should say I love you at the same time. I love you.
Yeah, just like we should orgasm at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we should both get off at the same time. And we should, we should get matching tattoos. Yeah. And
we think everything at the same time. We want everything at the same time.
We should get stupid Christmas sweaters that match. Yeah, that kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But it's this very pervasive egalitarianism that has sort of like, and by the way, it's not just about like in relationships between men and women. It's also like in the church, and it's also in like our society that we, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. There has to be like every action has an equal and opposite reaction, which is false. When it comes to human nature, it's absolutely false. So there needs to be a dom and there needs to be a sub. So one of the manifestations of that is who invests first? Who says I love you first? Because what happens is if a guy says I love you first, he loses frame. And so what that is it's a concession of frame. If a woman says I love you first, or I want to be exclusive with you first, like when I was with my wife, we were dating non-exclusively when we first started getting together. I was dating other people, and
For
she
how
was
long?
saying probably about 3 months, maybe. And so she worked at the hospital, and I was actually dating another chick that worked at the same hospital as her. But like we were still seeing each other, and it was her and probably like 2 other girls that I was seeing at the same time. And then I was with her, and then at one point, probably like three months down the line, she says, I don't like the idea of like you being with other chicks. I want to be exclusive. And she was asking me to be exclusive with her. I wasn't the other way around. And she was the hottest piece of ass I was seeing at the time. Like, yeah, okay, we'll see how this works. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, that's funny because that reminds me of my first like true love, serious boyfriend in my mid-20s, and we were dating for I think a couple months or less than like maybe a month, and I wasn't even really into him. You're gonna love this one. I wasn't even really into him, and I go back to his place, and then the next morning I wake up and there's a condom wrapper in his garbage, which was not from me. Or on the floor. And I was like, why is there a condom wrapper on your floor? And he goes, I guess they missed the garbage. And I was like, I freaked out. And I didn't even like the guy. I was like, and I lost it. And I was like, I just turned red and I ran out, and he's like laughing and he's like coming kind of after me. He's like, Coral, why don't you just say, I really like you and I want to be exclusive with you. And I was like, I'm not fucking saying that, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well then, okay. And I'm like, okay, fine. Devin, I really like you and I don't want you to date anyone else. And he was like, what? And he had me say it a couple times. And then he was like, I'll talk to my lawyer about that. And then we dated for 2 years. And it's like, it was crazy that worked, you know? Because I do have this theory too, that like men will very rarely not tell you the truth. Like if a woman's like, I want to be in a relationship, he'll dance around the subject. He'll be like, I think I'm having a really nice time with you. I'm like having a good time with you. You're a lot of fun. Let's keep doing this. But he won't say yes and then not be in the relationship. Right? Like that's the big misconception. And women will weaponize that. They'll contort it. They'll take the, I'm having a nice time with you. And they'll be like, well, yeah, we're in an exclusive relationship. And I see that all the time. And then men are damned if they do it or damned if they don't. If they get the truth, women don't want to hear the truth, you know? And then it's just, it's bizarre how that language is.
Well, in my case, I didn't engineer it that way.
Yeah.
Right? It was just that's the natural progression of it. The other thing is, when I was dating my wife, like we both had cars. She hated my truck. I had like this, this old white Toyota pickup truck with no tailgate. She didn't like driving around my truck. So we usually took her car. Now, when I've dated other women in the past and they had a car, they were the ones who were driving and I was in the passenger seat, right? She hands me the keys to her car. You're driving, right? And I still to this day, like I'm still driving, right?
Yeah.
She had expectations of me to be the dominant one.
Yeah.
And so now that, hindsight being 2020, I kind of understand why she was like, I want to be exclusive with you. But it didn't even occur to me. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I didn't like throw a condom down there to say,
yeah.
There's a condom over there. Hey, I'm fucking other bitches, babe.
Well,
you want to be?
You're still with your wife. I'm still not with that guy.
That would have been me trying to like force the issue, and I would not. That's the difference between like I think a lot of people when they say, well, you should say I love you first, or I shouldn't say I love. That's the condom on the floor, right? So if the guy does it, it's manipulative. But if the girl does it on her own, then it's naturally and it's organically flowing or whatever the fuck it is. And it's like, I think it's just a matter of perspective of like, if I'm withholding I love you as a tactic,
yes,
that's one thing. It's another thing if it doesn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And because I'm seeing I'm doing we're dating non-exclusively, right? I don't like, okay.
Yeah.
Or even if we are dating exclusively, it puts men in a dominant frame if the woman is the one who is conceding to having emotional investment first. Because women want to, if you read the rest of that rule, it's like don't deny women the pleasure of like looking up to you and seeking after you, because that forms the basis of a healthy relationship. And you probably already know my position on frame is the frame that you go into a relationship with is going to be what sets the theme for the rest of your relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So you may have heard me reference, I'm a certified sexologist and sex and intimacy coach for men. So whether it be erectile issues, performance anxiety, premature ejaculation, or repressed desire, porn dependency, disconnection, sexual shame, I help men rewire their bodies and their minds and sex lives through a holistic framework that I developed that actually works. So go to www.coralosborne.com/podcast for more info about working with me and to sign up for access to tools, offers, and insights exclusively for listeners. Sex is a metaphor for how you do life. So master your relationship to it and everything else follows. Well, this brings me to the second one. Make her jealous. Flirt with other women.
Dread, yes.
Yeah.
Those are the fundamentals of dread. So making a woman jealous. Mystery and I have talked about this several occasions. Now, Mystery talks about it more in the proximate sense. I talk about it in the ultimate sense. So when Mystery talks about jealousy, like a woman cannot love you or cannot be invested in you until she feels jealousy for you. Now, he does that in the sense like he'll have one girl at the club and he'll be working this girl, and then there's another girl that likes him too over here in this other set. And so he'll leave the one girl and go over here. And if that girl follows because she's got an investment in him, she doesn't want the other girl to take him away, to take his attention away, right? So that's in the more like immediate proximate sense. I talk about it in terms of a long term, which is like dread, okay, or competition anxiety or urgency. Sex, in my opinion, should be urgent. It should be uncomfortable. It should be anxiety. It's not about comfort. It's not about rapport. It's not about, oh, let's spoon before we have sex and that kind of shit. It's like if there's not a mutual sort of urgent desire for the other person, that's not going to form like that's unmitigated, as opposed to like being mitigated, which is like you'll hear women say, "I'm comfortable with you before I have sex with you." You don't have to be comfortable with the guy who's the hot dude in the foam cannon party in spring break in Cancun because it's immediate and it was right there. He was hot and one thing led to another, right? That's why I always say, like in my iron rules, right? Iron rule number 3, which is any time a woman makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. That rule is not about the sex. It is about the desire, is what it is.
Well, but I'll challenge you on that, because maybe it's also because I've had a lot of sex, but it's like I actually, and I enjoy edging. Like I love prolonging it. It's easy for me to just have sex with someone. I actually love that buildup. I love the absence of it. So that's not like a strategy to get you to commit. Literally, like I have sex outside of, I'm not in a relationship. So it's like, that's not my move.
What I'm talking about in that sense is like guys who get into these situations where the woman makes them jump through hoops, right?
And you know the difference.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, most guys don't though. So when I say, women have boyfriends and girlfriends, if you're not fucking her, you're her girlfriend, right? Because she sees you as a confidant, as a brother, it's a comfort area rather than an urgent hot monkey sex area. The other thing is like women make rules for betas and they break rules for alphas. So the breaking of the rule, is a woman breaking rules to see, is she like calling in to work, sick to work because she wants to fuck you for the whole day?
Yeah.
Or is she saying, well, I'm not going to have sex with you until you until I see your 401k, until I see your 1099 forms, until my mom approves of you, until my girlfriends approve of you, until you measure up to these particular things, then I'm not that kind of girl. I don't want you to think I'm easy, blah blah blah. And it's like, then she'll, but yet you still had like you still fucked the lacrosse team, right?
Yeah,
so,
sounds fun.
But there's validational sex and there's transactional sex. If you're jumping through hoops for a woman and trying to qualify her, first of all, you're out of your frame, you're in her frame because you're accepting her tests, right? But it's mitigated by something, and usually it's mitigated by that girl getting a better offer. Most of the time, she's got you on the bullpen, and she's got 3 other guys, and you might be at the top of the list, but she's gonna want to see if those other 3 are gonna pan out, and they're gonna do something, value added kind of thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in her, no more fun for you. Like the fun was back when she was younger and she was having sex with guys who were like not good for her, and she was going through her journey of self-discovery and making bad decisions and everything. But now I'm going to get right with God, and now I'm going to do this, and you better measure up and meet all these requirements, like that one clip that we talked about in Access Vegas. If you don't measure up to these things, then we don't have a future together.
Right.
And like, I'm not looking for a future. I just want to have sex with you, right? And then maybe we'll see how it goes from there. But like guys who are in that position of negotiating don't realize that they're negotiating, and you can't negotiate genuine desire. And so,
but what about responsive desire with women? I mean, like, so there's spontaneous desire and there's responsive desire. And like a lot of women do physiologically, like in order for them to get aroused, and I'm talking about mostly longer term partnerships, like they can't be anxious. I actually eroticize anxiety, so I'm a different beast. But there's spontaneous and there's responsive, and a lot of women tend to be responsive. I don't think that's the same though, because I agree, like you can't negotiate genuine desire, but just women come to it in a different way. Like it's not always spontaneous, it's not always prime.
I think a lot of the times when like women go to like marriage counseling, or they go to like couples therapy or whatever the fuck it is, a lot of it is really centered on that guy altering his behavior in order to make the woman feel more comfortable, do more chores around the house, do these things, so she'll have the freedom to feel more attracted to you and everything else. And the fact of the matter is, it has nothing to do with what the guy's doing. It's the fact that she simply just doesn't have any genuine desire for him, whether it is she comes to it from a position of urgency, or she comes to like, oh well, I got to work up to it. There's no, I mean, unless you're in the manosphere in the red pill space, there's no education for guys as to how to arouse a woman, how to attract a woman. In fact, you're supposed to magically know that already as a guy. It's supposed to be just part of your like operating system you're born with. But I think that when women get into those situations where they have to talk themselves into having sex with it, like have that internal conversation, well, he is my duty sex, you know. Well, you know, the Lord said in the Bible that I'm supposed to not deny my body to my husband, and so therefore I'm just okay. Are you done yet? I got laundry to fold. Are you finished? You know, that kind of stuff. That's, you're still having sex. You're still maybe you even get into it after a little while. But the thing is it's not something you look forward to. It's not so, oh, it's 2:00. I really want to have sex with my man. It's not like you're waiting for him to get home from work in lingerie with 2 martinis in hand, right? It's because it becomes routine and becomes mundane. And I think that the burden of romance is squarely on men right now. But I think if women really were to sort of work it up themselves and try to be like, most women aren't with guys that they admire. They're not with guys that they maybe they did prior to getting married, but like once they get married, and like familiarity and comfort is anti-seductive. And so if you have to talk yourself into it, that's a whole different animal than, man, I can't wait to rip his fucking shirt off as soon as he walks in the door, and I want to just ride him to glory every, you know, Tuesday and Saturday or whatever. That's a whole different situation. And most guys never experience a woman's genuine desire for them. Do
they know the difference, do you think?
Because I don't think so. I think a lot of guys are really kind of stuck in, they're in what I call transactions. So I got to qualify to have sex with my wife, of all people, right? I'm supposed to be getting the best sex of my life from the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, right? So if she had, 3 ways when she was in her having fun in her college days, and she did anal in her college days, or she was much more sexually adventurous and experimental and you know, less self-conscious when she was 23 years old, and now she's 33 years old. I married her, and she just wants to have starfish sex all the time. Is that because she doesn't want me to think that she's a whore? Or is that because she just simply doesn't, I'm not the kind of guy who elicits that behavior from her that other guys did, who didn't have to pay the rent and didn't have to pay the electricity and didn't have to jump through all these hoops so that they could get sex out of that girl. She just openly, freely gave it to them. And so am I getting the best sex out of my wife, my partner, whatever, my long-term girlfriend? Am I getting the best sex that I can? Because clearly I'm not. And now we have evidence of it, like your digital footprint. Well, remember when you were in Ibiza with that dude? And remember you told me you had anal with him? Like, how come I'm not? Like, what am I, chopped liver kind of thing? And so it's becoming more and more difficult for like women to sort of cover their tracks in that sense. But I think that when it comes down to it, there's the urgency sex, there's the anxiety sex, there's that uncomfortable, like you were saying before,
I love anxiety,
like the tension, the sexual tension between it. And so when you remove that sexual tension, it's replaced with comfort and familiarity, and that's anti-seductive.
Right. So explain the dread thing, because going back to that, you said there's intentional and then there's like
passive and active.
Passive. Can you explain that?
Okay, so whenever I talk about like, people hate the word dread because it has like negative connotations. You're trying to instill dread in your wife? Oh my God!
Well, that's where
you rule your wife with an iron fist. Right? You better suck my dick, or I'm gonna go down to the bar and get my dick sucked. Right? That's what I call overt dread. It's an ultimatum, is basically what it is. And guys, a lot of guys who are sort of immature in all of this, they think that that's what I mean when it comes to dread, which is just like, tell that bitch what's what. You know, you have to have boundaries and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with boundaries. It's instilling dread directly and overtly. The better form of dread is called passive dread, or it's sort of an inactive form of dread. It's a third party form of dread. So if I go to Access Vegas and I'm sitting around a table with all these beautiful women, you know, my wife knows I'm cool with that and everything. She's cool with it too. But there's still that, you know, okay, there's these women around here and this is what he does. And he's around it doesn't even have to be Access Vegas. Like I used to work in wine and spirits. I used to work in casino marketing and stuff like that too. So I'm around beautiful young women and like good looking guys too, right? Because I have to have them there. But I'm, mingling with, people who are, elite level physiques and stuff like that. And there's, even if I'm not saying, hey baby, this is just what I do kind of thing. If another woman finds your man attractive, like if your best friend says, if you're not going to fuck him, I'm going to fuck him, right? That's third party dread. I didn't initiate that. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So here's the illustration I give is this. Let's just say for sake of argument, you're at a bar and grill or something and the waitress or the bartender flirts with your guy. That is a positive association for the guy that you are with, okay? Because it means that other women find him attractive. People say, well, what's a high value man? What's an alpha male, Rollo? It's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck.
Yeah.
And there is no better association than your best friend or the cocktail waitress or whatever who like kind of, gives your man indicators of interest. And whether he responds to it or not is irrelevant at that point because you're with a guy who can elicit that response from another woman, but he's with you.
Right.
And so what happens is that association, that ego association is I'm with a guy that other women want to fuck. Yeah. And so therefore that's an association on your value as well. I'm the kind of girl that can lock down a guy that other women want to fuck. And so that's why that's passive dread in that it's not, it's not dread per se, like, oh my gosh, he's going to go fuck these other girls. But the thing is like other women want to get with him. Yeah. Therefore, it's going to reinforce that adorer kind of thing, like who you're chasing, whatever you want to call it. Like you have an admiration for that guy, but it's not just an admiration for him. It's also an ego association with you are the kind of girl who can get with this guy and keep him, like you're so good at it that you can keep him from like wanting to get with another.
But the overt dread. So I've experienced
overt is an
that.
ultimatum.
And you're just like, I think it was Mystery. You were saying that if I know a guy's doing that and I've seen it, it's literally like an eye roll.
Yeah.
Like I see that happen. So in the
because
second
you know why you do that? Because what they're doing, what those guys are doing is they're trying to manufacture, they're trying to create pre-selection for themselves. Like if I go and I say, I'm so fucking hot, like that's why women don't like egotistical guys, right? Like, I'm so fucking hot, all these girls want to fuck. Like if I say that, then you'll roll your eyes and go, that's really kind of cringe kind of thing because this guy just thinks so highly of himself and it's totally not true. Just look at the dude, right? That desire to go and build yourself up like that, it's fake. It feels, even if it's not fake, it feels fake because that guy is trying to manufacture, trying to convince you that he's already pre-selected. If another girl says, man, that guy's hot right there, I really want to fuck, that's real, genuine, organic pre-selection. Whereas if I'm going, if I go and I take a picture by a Lamborghini and say, yeah, this is my new Lambo, and it's not, it's rent, it's bullshit, right? Or if I go take a picture of myself at Tivoli Ranch, Tivoli over here, and I say, oh, I was just in Milan the other day, because it looks kind of like Milan, right? It's never been easier to fake the cues of high value because we're in the Instagram age, right? It's easier to see a picture right there. And people want to believe it too. But that's doing is it's a kind of a cheap way of manufacturing pre-selection or social proof, depends on what your definition is. But the reason why women hate that egotistical son of a bitch who builds himself up and is like full of himself and overtly so is because he's trying to convince you that you ought to fuck him because other women want to fuck him too, based on his own word, just his word. Because when women want to get with a guy, they seek the approval of the other women that are in their social circle. So I tell guys this, I said, when you're dating a chick or when you're putting your pictures on Instagram and she's checking you out to see if you're cool enough to hang out with, it's not just her, it's her girlfriend, it's everybody who follows her. Yeah, it's the whole board. Her mom, her sister, her niece, her besties, all the people that are on Instagram. And I mean, that's how you get apps like the T app, you know, right? It's like, and so you're not just dating that one chick or trying to get that approval of that one girl. It's all the girls that are the collective, the sisterhood that is behind the scenes right there. because women can't just rely on their intuition about whether a guy's legit or not. They got to seek the would you fuck this guy? So I'm thinking about fucking this guy. What about you? What about you? What about you? So they seek a consensus from the collective as to whether or not that you should proceed further.
Yeah.
Now, if the guy is trying to take the place of all those of the whole board by saying, I'm such a badass, this chick wants to fuck me, and that chick wants to fuck me, and this chick wants to fuck me too, so you should want to fuck me as well, right? If I say that is very cringeworthy, and it sets off all of your intuition. It sets off all of your intuition.
Yeah. It's like I have a total double standard, and I'll own it. I don't think men should have Instagram unless it's work related. Or if you do, I have this whole rant about it. Like last post from 2018, I'm okay with a fish photo because that you're doing, don't stand
I'm so glad.
in front of a fucking private jet or a Lamborghini. Like that's gross for me. A guy that posts infinite stories about his social life. I'm like, what are you trying to prove,
What are you,
buddy?
a chick?
Yeah.
I know, I get that all the time. We have to convince guys in MOA and Reignite that they should have an Instagram, but because it seems so self-serving. I think a lot of guys are way more self-conscious about that than women are. Like, women love to post pictures of themselves. Instagram is for chicks, right? But guys still got to participate in that, because it's almost weird. If you don't have a social media presence, what are you, an axe murderer?
Well, that's what I hear from women. Seem to have these two extreme opinions around that. No, he's a psycho if he doesn't. And I'm like, that's why I'm a big fan of the annual post. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's okay, we know you're real, but that's good enough.
Well, I'm from an era where there wasn't I had to do everything analog.
Yeah.
So there's no a phone number meant a lot more than follow me on Instagram, because if a chick says, okay, here's my number, call me and we'll set up a date kind of thing, and
she picks up,
that's a commitment is what that is, because now you got my private phone number, right? And now you can get in touch with me anytime you choose. That you had to be pretty hot. She had to be into you to give a phone number. Yeah. Whereas today it's just, hey, bump phones.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. And follow me on Instagram. And the reason why is because Instagram is the #1 dating app on planet Earth. Because what happens is women will go and look at a guy's Instagram grid just to see if he's cool enough to hang out with. Does he have friends? Does he have social proof? Does he have a big gigantic fish on his? Is he fishing? Is he full of himself? Because you can tell more about that. And then guys, of course, the contingency for that is to doctor their photos to the point where it looks there's a psychological aspect to for guys in particular, to put certain pictures up, and certain ones work and certain ones give women the ick, right? If you got a big old bass, fish, and you think that's kind of an ick.
You said something the other day about the fish hierarchy. There's fish that
there's a hierarchy of fish.
Yeah.
If you catch a sailfish or a marlin, you are it's like playing golf. You are a rich motherfucker, because that's expensive. Yeah. Trust me, I know it's expensive to go catch a sailfish.
Yeah.
If I'm out there noodling for catfish in the Mississippi,
then that's
a fish. That's a fish, but it's
Yeah.
Did you eat that?
Yeah. That's funny and true.
There's a hierarchy of fish. Yes.
Okay. So next, don't play by her rules. Her emotions, a hurricane. Her soul, a saboteur.
You're only reading part of that. That's the last end of that.
Well, do you know the whole thing?
I do know the whole thing. Yes.
Okay. So explain that one.
Don't play by her rules is really, it comes back down. This is really simple. This is just basically women break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas, right? Guys who don't play by women's rules are the message, the psychological message that sends is I'm not going to play by your rules, because I know that I don't have to play by your rules, because I have a roster of girls who are ready to are DTF right now, and I don't have to worry about this. So I'm gonna be aloof. I'm not gonna say aloof, but I'm just gonna be sort of indifferent to your rules, because I have, whether I do or I don't is immaterial, because I've got 4 other girls on my phone right now who want to do the same thing that you want to do with me right now. So I'm not going to play along with that. And it also it comes back to frame as well. So if you're playing by her rules, you're in her frame.
Give me an example of her rules. What are her rules?
Just doing I think really what Royce was talking about there was sort of playing into her insecurities. Do these things to make me feel secure. Do this to make me feel, I don't want to have sex with you until you make me feel secure enough to have sex with you, and that means you've got to take me out to dinner. That means you've got to meet my parents. That means you've got to like puppy dogs and rainbows in Disneyland, and that you have to. It could be anything, really. I mean, the rules are tend to be for women in the early stages of just meeting, just not even like a relationship, just like sort of dating kind of thing. Those rules are there to as a form of a shit test.
Well, I have an example of that.
Test.
Yeah, like I had been on like 3 dates with this guy, like 3 months apart. And every time we go on a date, he wasn't my type, but he was such a kind guy. And he was low key and like reserved. And I'd blow him off. Like if we go on a date, I'd make out with him, I'd run away, he'd ask me out again, and I'd just ghost him. And that happened like 3 times over the course of a year. And then whenever I'd see him out, he wasn't bothered by me. He wasn't like, what the fuck, bitch? You know, he would send me and my girlfriend's drinks. He would order me a car, and he was indifferent, like you said. And then eventually, a year later, I ended up dating the guy for like a year. You know what I mean? Because like I'm like, there's something more to this man, because he's not going through my tests. He's unbothered by what I'm doing.
Well, there's certain behaviors that manifest from a guy who is more alpha than a guy who's, and I'm using alpha and beta in abstract terms, okay? But a guy who fucks, right? There are certain behaviors that guy manifests that women pick up on, and the guy might not be, he might be completely unaware of that he's even like, that's just how he is, right? But they're like, when a guy has more confidence, like women say, I want a guy with confidence. The guy with confidence is the guy who has enjoyed the sexual benefits of other women and has come to the point where he's indifferent about playing games. He's indifferent about playing by your rules. Like I said before, women break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas. And a guy who is in the frame of mind of obeying your rules, that guy's not alpha.
Yeah.
Because he would be just simply indifferent to your rules. And therefore you start breaking those rules. Like, you know, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to fuck you tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the unconscious sort of behaviors that guy manifests, women pick up on, like only an alpha would do this. Only an alpha would say that, because it must mean that he has other girls that are sort of on call. Or he's like, I always say this is confidence. Like people think confidence is some magic, like woo, pixie dust, you know, cosmic thing. If you listen to like Tony Robbins or the rest of these guys who are like these sort of success gurus, gotta dig down deep into your well of confidence and, you know, walk with pride, stick your chest out, doing Jordan Peterson, make your bed, you know. And it's like, no, confidence doesn't come from just this sort of like mental state. It comes from options. It comes from realizable material fucking options that you generated. You busted your ass to get those options. How many girls do I have on speed dial? How many girls do I have that in my roster or whatever it is? If I'm dating non-exclusively, above the board. If I know that I've got 4 other options, I'm going to manifest behaviors with the 5th option, who's sort of like the unproven commodity. I'm going to be way more confident. I'm going to be way more experimental. I'm not going to worry about stepping on your feet. I'm not going to play by your rules. I'm not going to, I'm going to be indifferent to your rules, because why would I? It's like,
and that's just innate.
Well, it's like the guy who has, like, if you're going to, the guy who works a 9 to 5 and he says, you know what, Joe down the street is going to hire me for $10,000 more than you're paying me here. And so here's my 2 weeks notice. I'm in a much better position to negotiate that extra 10 grand if I've already got I'm monkey branching, right? I've already got another branch in hand. I got the Joe down the street who's already offered me a job. And you might not even be trying to negotiate money, but the guy's going to say, okay, tell you what, I'm going to give you $12,000 to keep you here, right? That guy is in a much better position to say, you know what, make that 15, right? Because I've already got this guy. How valuable am I to your operation kind of thing? I'm going to manifest different behaviors, and I'm going to be more confident in my negotiations if I already know that I have an option. I got one in the kitty, right?
Yeah.
And so the more you have in the kitty, you've got, instead of like Joe down the street, I've got 4 other guys down the street who want to offer me X amount of dollars. I'm going to behave differently with the one that is I'm working with at that time. So now put that scenario into the situation of a guy who's with some girl and he already knows that he has 4 girls in the backfield, or maybe he has no girls in the backfield, but he knows that he has generated those options in the past and can do so again in the future. And so therefore that is those are the options, or the having generated those options is what leads to confidence. That's what manifests confident behavior. When guys are like, they're like, I don't know how to be confident with girls. It's because they've never had options to be experimental. Like, well, if I don't tell her this, if I don't tell her I love her on the first date, if I don't, if I don't
go steady
make
with
her, go steady with her, if I don't make her feel comfortable, if I don't spoon with her on the couch, then I don't want to lose her. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I better do what she says, right? Well, that mentality is what's killing your game because you've never had the options in the first place to be cocky, to be funny, to even have the not whether it's organic or it's planned. You just simply won't even engage in those behaviors because you have too much to lose because you don't know when your next meal's coming.
Yeah, and I think confidence, I mean, for men and women, just comes from having no fear. Like fear is an illusion. And honestly, before I got doxxed, I lived in fear of everyone finding out, and I say, to myself, I would kill myself if that happened. What happened on the other end of that? I didn't. I had all these revelations of like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to become a sexologist. And once the thing I feared the most happened, my confidence is like, it's just innate now. I think it's the same for, for men. It's just, you don't fear the loss. You're not living in a deficit, like you said.
Yeah. Once you don't have anything to lose, but like when it comes down to, what was it? Don't play by her rules kind of thing. It comes down to how confident are you to not play by those rules? Because in not doing so, that broadcasts or telegraphs to that girl that you have been rewarded with sex in the past and you will be rewarded with it again in the future. And so therefore you're not going to play along with those rules because again, I might be the guy that the waitress at the bar flirts with that you suddenly find me that much more attractive because other women want to fuck me and other men want to be me, right? But the dynamic is still puts the guy in the position of the one that is like the primary, and that's like women are only going to chase a guy who has a higher value, who perceptively anyways has a higher value than they do. A lot of guys say, well, that guy's a piece of shit. Why does she look up to him kind of thing? Well, perceptually, that's what she sees. It doesn't have to be an actual value. It could be a perceptual value too. So when guys ask me like, well, how come that girl's with that emo guy over there and he's not very he's as masculine as me. He can't bench press 225, like that kind of stuff. But perceptually, that's what she's looking for and that's what she's into. And that guy is the embodiment of that. So it doesn't matter whether, what his deadlift is. It's just like, are you right? Yeah, you're right. You're 100% fucking right. But to that girl, the perception is that he's the bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the golden ratio.
Oh yeah. My favorite.
Adhere to the golden
rule.
ratio. Give her 2/3 of what she gives you.
Very easy.
Okay. But I'm like, who, of what? Of what? Well, first of all, that must also be an intentional versus a passive thing.
It is intentional.
Right? Like I'm, what I said the other day on the podcast, I'm like, if you pick a fucking daisy from the public park, like I'm going to be over the moon. Like I'm not saying get me like
be a Skittles guy.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Skittles guy. I'll tell you the Skittles. Okay. I'll tell you the Skittles story. And just to clarify here, the 2/3 rule is you give a woman 2/3, or you give a woman 2 for every 3, right? So if a woman kisses you 3 times,
how big are the 2?
If a woman kisses you 3 times, you kiss her twice.
Yeah.
Okay. If she says I love you 3 times, you say I love you twice.
Yeah.
Because what it's doing is it's still all these rules. By the way, up to this point, you'll notice that they focus on one thing: putting the guy in the frame of the relationship. Okay. So what that does, what the 2/3 rule does, is it puts that woman like she's still getting something out of a relationship, but she's still putting in 1/3 more effort than the guy is.
But what about the magnitude of the giving? Like maybe a man says I love you and he really fucking means it versus her being love you babe, or a gift, right? What if he's buying her some Cartier?
He's giving examples in there just to sort of like define a principle. Okay. So it's not even so much about the magnitude or even how many times you do it. It's just putting yourself in the frame of mind where you are the one who is still the adoree instead of the adorer. Okay. And so that comes down to the golden ratio, which is the 2/3 rule. it's not that the guy's not invested. Like if you just had the 0 rule, you're like, I'm just, it's all on me. Come on, give me cash. And you're like, if that was it, if you never said I love you, and that's definitely manipulation. And I'm not saying that those guys don't exist. I'm sure they do, but like women will say, oh, he didn't put enough into the relationship and blah blah blah. Well, that's because the guy was not adhering to the 2/3 rule. Okay. Meaning that she's still following, she's still giving just a third more than he is, but he's still giving back. So he might give you the daisy, he might give you the rose, he might give you whatever it is, just as sort of like a sentimental kind of thing. But that's keeping them just enough to keep the relationship going, just enough to say, oh, he does he does care. When we talk about vulnerability, this really relates to this. I think the way that we look at like male vulnerability, it's so sexy. No, it's not. It's fucking.
Well, it has
it's
to be earned.
Weakness.
It can't.
Absolute weakness, and I'll tell you what. Because it's transvaluation. Strength is weakness. Weakness is strength. Vulnerability is being strong and courageous, and being stoic and withholding your emotions is being weak. It's just that's a principle called transvaluation that we've suddenly popularized right after the sexual revolution. I wonder why. But the thing is, I'm not saying vulnerability it can't be a thing. Most guys see vulnerability as a form of game. Like they think, well, I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm going to cry at the end of Titanic. And, little kittens make me feel, all fluffy inside. But the thing that's funny is like when we talk about, vulnerability, we expect guys to like sort of cry on demand, but that's not really what it's about.
Or they weaponize it. We see this now. We were talking about that on the podcast the other day. It's this trauma dumping, this like, like I'm going through, and it's like, that's not vulnerability.
Right.
Vulnerability from a man, from anyone, should be earned.
Vulnerability
to be believed.
Well, the only way that vulnerability works for men is if the guy's predominant personality is alpha, and he's like he's the fucking rock.
1000%.
And then all of a sudden, like, my mom died.
Yep.
Oh, I'm here for you.
Yep.
Like, oh, he's only like this with me.
Yes.
That's
1000%.
I know a side of him that no one else knows, right? Yeah. And so if you were like, you look like The Rock and you're this big bodybuilder guy and you're like, and suddenly just out of the blue, like something affects you, like, and it doesn't have to be somebody dying or something. It could be just something like he's like, Iron Eyes Cody, and like one little tear drops down. And so, I'm the only one that can bring this out in him.
Yeah.
That right there is very valuable.
Oh,
that will lock a woman in because she thinks she's the only one that can elicit that vulnerability or that response from him.
Like, I'm just thinking of my ex, like
he's
mom.
never emotional unless he's with me. And this one thing happened. I remember this one time.
Yeah. Like my ex's mom passed away a few months ago, and his dad passed away years ago. He's been through a really tough life. Like, he's sober. He's been sober as long as I've known him. And I had blocked him a while ago because he was pissing me off. We were friends, and he just bailed on dinner a few times. And I was like, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. And then I find out through another chick who she was like, what's the deal with him? And I was like, oh, I used to date him. We were good friends, but he's been flaky ever since he started making a lot of money. She's like, well, his mom died. And I was like, I'm such a and so I'm blocking. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, that's okay. He's like, I tried calling you a few times. And just because he's so stoic and he would never push me on any of it, I felt terrible. And then I was so emotional, and I was like, oh my God, all these love feelings came up again, because he it's like he didn't weaponize it. I was like, oh, he does. He's he's very much a lone wolf. And
but see, most guys, like, they'll hear vulnerabilities. They'll hear it from like Justin Baldoni or something like that. Or being vulnerable is the sexiest thing a man could be for.
It's
no,
like confidence.
It's fucking
you can't
not.
Construct it.
And like a dude cries at the end of every one of his fucking podcasts. And I'm just like, who the fuck is watching this guy? They were like this. There's this one NGO called Diverting Hate that was like redirecting my traffic to his fucking channel and stuff like that. And I was like, please do keep going. I want people to see like this dude like crying on demand at the end of every podcast thing. And I think he's married too.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks that his wife gets turned on by shit like that. I'm like,
I mean, Jordan Peterson cries.
Yeah, but that's when he's off his meds though.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think guys tend to think of vulnerability as being game. Like they think, because what happens is guys do this is competition comes natural to guys, right? So if a woman says, I need a guy who can be vulnerable. Oh yeah, I can be vulnerable. And I'm going to out vulnerable all the rest of these motherfuckers. I'm going to be the most vulnerable guy that ever existed. And you're going to love me that much more because I am way more vulnerable than anybody else. It becomes a form of competition, right? Or if it's, I like a guy who can identify with the feminine. Oh, really? Okay. I'm going to go trans. I'm going to be a literal woman because that's the level of competition. I got to out-identify the rest of these guys. And so I don't think like women really realize that if you say like, what are you looking for in a guy? Oh, I want him to be confident. Oh, I'm going to be the most confident motherfucker there is. They will take that to the nth degree every single time. Especially, and the more guys are in the don't fuck category, the more that competition comes out. And so that's how you get guys like Justin Baldoni. That's how you get these guys who want to turn game or whatever they heard some woman once upon a time. Some woman said, I like a guy with tattoos, right? I'll get a full body sleeve or get a full body of tattoos just because he heard
can't
one
kill
chick.
A spider.
Yeah. Then he'll start a pesticide corporation or something. But it's just, it's I don't think that women really realize the depth of commitment they will have if they hear something like that. But now apply that to vulnerability. And then, so, I mean, what was the rule we were looking at?
That was the give her 2/3.
Give her 2/3. Okay. Yeah. So the reason I brought up vulnerability for the 2/3 rule is because it's, if my predominant character is I'm only giving you 2 for every 3, and we apply that to say something like vulnerability, I'm still going to give you a little bit of vulnerability, but it's got to be believable. Yes. It's got to be something that you
could give me 1/3 of vulnerability, and it's like that's like 10x for me.
Marriage.
1000%.
Yes, exactly. So, but again, everyone that we've talked about up to this point puts the man in the positive frame and puts the women into the man's world. Okay, and that's really what the basis of frame. I didn't make up frame. This is like a psychological term. Okay, frame is the world into which you enter. Now, frame doesn't necessarily have to be between men and women. It can be between you and your employer. It can be between, if you're in the military, it could be you and your CO. It could be your family. If you have like a domineering dad or a domineering mom, you're in their frame. And it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still fucking Billy, the 15-year-old, right? So the frame is, I'm operating within the psychosocial context of this particular person. Now, the way that we apply that to men and women is, as we were saying before, the man being the dominant and the woman being sort of the submissive. I don't want to call it even submissive. It's like the guy has authority and she defers to his authority. Yep. But the only way that happens is if that man has a pre-established world into which that woman wants to enter. So women have frames, men have frames. If men, like say, if a woman says, oh, I want a man to identify with me, or I want him to do these things, I want him to jump through these hoops, these are the rules that you got to follow to get with me. We even showed video after video of these on Access Vegas. Here's what it takes to date me. What she's saying is, here's what it takes to enter into my frame and be a part of my world, as opposed to a guy going, you know what, you'll never hear guys going like, oh, I want a girl who's going to be this and this and this and this, because he sounds pretentious. He sounds like he's creating social proof and pre-selection by popping off about what he wants. That's why guys are never allowed to have standards, right? Because if they have standards, it sounds like it's boasting. It sounds like it's you trying to create pre-selection for yourself. It's the guy who's the egotistical dude who says, this girl wants to fuck me and that girl wants to fuck me and stuff. Instead, he's saying, I need a girl who's this, this, and this, because I'm a high value guy and this is what I do and these are my boundaries and these are my standards. That guy sounds like by saying those things that he is trying to convince you to fuck him. He's trying to convince you to accept his pre-generated social or pre-selection. Right? But when a woman does that, guys will gladly enter her frame, the guys who don't fuck, because they think men are deductive problem solvers, right? So they go, okay, what do I got to do to get in bed with you? Oh, you have to do this and this and this and this. Great. Bam. I'm going to cater my whole damn life to be what a woman says that
She
I need
doesn't
to
trust
do.
that. She
It's
doesn't
like,
trust that.
it's like, I need sex. I have to go ask a woman what she wants for sex. She tells me what she wants. I go and deliver on that. Ergo, at the end of the math equation, I get sex, right? That's male deductive problem solving logistics, right? But all that guy is doing is pre-qualifying himself or creating a persona or creating a character of himself according to what that woman says that she wants at that time, which might change later on. And so he basically is not his personality is not organic. He's just created himself to solve his reproductive problems, right? And what he's doing is he's doing so to enter into her frame rather than creating his own frame, and which is a world into which that woman wants to enter. And so when we're talking about don't say I love you until she says it, jealousy and dread. That's the guy has to have frame. The guy for that woman for the bartender to want to flirt with him in the first place. That guy has to broadcast or at least be representative of having a world into which the waitress and you want to enter into, because that's really what you're doing. You're fighting that bitch to stay in his world, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with the 2/3 rule. Is it's establishing that guy as the predominant guy in the relationship because the woman comes into his frame instead of him going into her frame. When a man goes into that woman's frame, that's when the woman says, "Oh, he's like it's like having another kid. It's like having another child. And he's mother.
Yeah.
They have mommy issues. What is it? Man keeping.
Yeah.
That's the new term. I got to man keep this guy. He's a man, but he wants me to do his laundry like his mom. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that women set themselves up for that because they don't trust men to begin with, and they don't trust them to have their to provide long-term security. But if that guy comes into her frame, now he's part of the luggage. He's part of the dead weight. She's part of some of that she has to take responsibility for, rather than her coming into the man's world and saying, I trust him. I defer to his authority. I know he's going to I know the decisions that he makes are going to be the best for the both of us. Very rarely will you find women who like, I retired my wife probably like 4 years ago, and she's firmly in my frame. She always has been, but she's firmly within my frame now because I make decisions and I do the things that I do because I see them as the best for me. And what is best for me is also best for my wife. It's best for my dogs. It's best for my mother-in-law. It's best for the people who are associated with me. It's best for the people who support me and my family and my friends. And that's really comes down to what I call mental point of origin, which is part of frame once again. So very few women will trust a man to the point where they will defer authority to him because they don't trust him to be the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
They don't trust him to make good decisions for himself or for the family, or they're not, he's not thinking about the family.
Yeah. Well, I was also, back to my mid-20s. I remember being with my ex, and we talked about this the other day briefly, but he was building his company, and which when we broke up was acquired by Yelp for like a significant amount of money, but I was paying the rent during that. And I was like, why aren't you locking this down? We had no money, like nothing. And I made it all about me. And now it's like, holy shit, do I ever get it? Alex Hormozy talks about this and his wife. And I'm like, yeah, he did the right thing. And guess what? He's married now with 3 incredible daughters and is a totally different man with his wife than he was with me. And I played a significant part in that too. We had a terrible relationship, very tumultuous relationship, because I didn't trust him to do anything. It's like I wanted it to all be about me. My whole frame of reference has completely changed.
Well, it's because, like I was telling you on the show, it's like you become the man that you wanted to marry, right? And I understand that because for the last 4 generations since the sexual revolution, we have systematically, inculcated this idea that men are inherently untrustworthy. They can't be trusted with your long-term security. So therefore, girl, you got to get the bag. You got to go to college. You got to go do OnlyFans. You got to do whatever it takes to ensure. And even if you're getting married, you should still have a side hustle because you never know if that guy's going to go fuck his secretary later on. Or you might have got with him when he was 27 and now he's 37 and he's hitting his stride and you're on your downturn right here. And he might still want to go, like I said, bang his secretary or his trophy wife, right? And so therefore you have to have an insurance policy. You better have a parachute.
Mm.
And in some cases, you'll see high profile people who will do those things, but that's definitely not the case for the vast majority of guys, because most guys are scared shitless of stuff like that. They're scared shitless to get married. They're scared shitless to lose half of their stuff. It's cheaper to keep her, and the idea that that men aren't going to do what they say they're supposed, like men are supposed to provide security for women. Okay, supposed to that's a judgment call, but the thing is that the reason why we have that attitude in the first place, and the reason why you have these sort of empowered women all the time who go in and getting, enrolling in college at record rates, and graduating from college at record rates. There's more home ownership for women than there is for men right now. It's because, and what is that? That's security. I've got a house. I've got my money. I've got a job at HR. I've got a degree. I'm basically following a male life plan, because men cannot be trusted to, even the best of men cannot be trusted to provide for me for the long term and my kids, if we have any, right? And so that's why you'll get women who will say, we don't, you get these videos of these guys on the streets, and they'll go up to women and they'll go, do we need men? Fuck no, we don't need men. Fuck men. They're lying, men, because men lie, right?
Yeah.
And then you go and you ask guys the same question: do we need women? Fuck yeah, we need women. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, yes. Are they pretty?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And it's like the complete opposite. But there's just this zeitgeist of, I don't want to say, like, people say it's misandry. Okay, yeah, it is. But what inspires that is the idea that men can't be trusted to take care of women. And so if they can't be trusted, then men have to, or women have to take care of that, sort of the beta bucks, or alpha fucks and beta bucks. Women have to take care of that beta buck side of their long-term security, because men can't be trusted to provide that long-term security. Only very rare, very high value men can be. That's why women want the guy with $5 million income, yearly income, has to drive a certain car, has to dress a certain way, has to have investments here, has to love his mother, has to want kids, 6'2", finance, blue eyes, that kind of shit. That's all that is it's an insurance plea. I want a guy who can provide these things, and the only way you're going to be able to get me, because I've already provided them for myself, the only way you can do that is be such a high level dude that I would even consider what I can provide for myself. Why would I want to get with a guy? Well, you would have to be really super elite level to do that, and those guys are so few and far between that you get a generation of women who are going to be single and childless by 2030, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I think women have sort of priced themselves out of the sexual marketplace as a result of that. Is that warranted? I don't know. But all I can say is that we have encouraged this idea that men can't be trusted to do those things. Yeah. And I think that's kind of unfair in a sense.
Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy, though? Is that
yeah, it is. And so what happens is, as a result, is you got women who, the reason why it seems like women's standards or women's qualifications have blown, they have egos, the overblown egos, is because they've been taught that you can't trust men to provide that long-term security. And so therefore they have to do it for themselves. And even when that guy comes into that woman's frame and he is the lesser and she is the greater, now he becomes another kid, and now she has to provide for his long-term security. So you're seeing that reversal right there. Yeah. And that's not the way that it works evolutionarily speaking. Yeah. Because women are the vulnerable sex and men are the disposable sex.
Yeah. Yeah. The next one, keep her guessing. So I'm totally on board with that. I talk about contrast all the time, like in versus out of the bedroom, and just that the unalignment is what keeps things urgency. Interesting. Polarity. Yeah. Can you explain that from your perspective?
Imagination is the best tool in any guy's game.
I love what you say about that. Women live in their imaginations. Yes. We need to fill in the gap with fantasy.
That's why I tell guys, when you're, now this isn't the red pill, this is just me, best practices, is to be a mystery, or to be, to reward women with little bits and pieces of yourself. Okay. So you don't want to, most guys who don't fuck, they think that they're uncomfortable with the seduction phase. They want to skip everything the uncomfortable arousal and like, oh, she giving me ILIs and stuff. They want to skip that and move right into rapport and comfort because they think that that's where the sex is, because they've only ever heard women say, well, I have to be comfortable with you to have sex. Okay, well, we've got to get right to the comfort as quick as we possibly can, right? And what happens is, in doing so and getting there, you leave nothing left to the imagination. And there's nothing better. Like I always say this, like, don't deny a woman the pleasure of trying to figure you out with her female intuition, right? Because if you can leave a date and she goes back to her girlfriends and says, I can't figure this guy out, can you help me? Like it's that
what
intrigue. It's that intrigue, because women, like, there's a reason why the Bachelor is in its 30th season right now, because it plays into that. Well, is he really good for her? He's not really good for her. Blah blah blah. You know, like there's this. Women want to talk about like whether that guy really is who he says he is, and that's really I call it the hypergamous filter. It's really female intuition, is what it is trying to figure that guy out based on her female intuition. And if you keep her guessing, you're keeping her you're giving her pleasure in the sense that she's trying to figure you out. And it's like reading a mystery novel, right? Or a true crime thing. That's why women love like mysteries and murder mysteries, CSI and shit, like whodunit kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's because it stimulates that need to figure out whether this guy is who he says. And that's evolutionarily like practical if you think about it, because in our evolutionary past, women had to figure out whether this guy was going to stick around or he was just going to ejaculate and evacuate, right? He was just going to be fuck you and leave, right? And even when a woman made a good decision with a good guy, there's still the possibility of that guy getting killed in warfare or died on a hunt or whatever, hunter-gatherer societies and stuff like that. But it was so important, evolutionarily speaking and reproductively speaking, that a woman figure out if a guy is real or if he's not for real, that it was a matter of life or death. And so that's why things like The Bachelor are so stimulating for women, or whodunit kind of thing, or like what was it, Cheaters? That show Cheaters, or or these confessions on like Maury Povich or Dr. Phil. He gets some like incorrigible PUA, goes, okay, ladies, you're right, you caught me. I'm really a softie and a nice guy kind of thing. I knew it. I knew it. That's the climax of trying to figure out whether that guy really who he is or he wasn't. That's why women shit test men.
Yeah.
Because they're, especially in the early phases, because they're trying to figure out, is this guy really who he says he is?
Yeah.
And if you say, yes, here it is, this is me, like in no uncertain terms, and you leave nothing left to the imagination, she's like, okay, I'm bored with this guy. It's like, I need a new toy.
Yeah.
Because he's not giving me that magic anymore.
Yeah. Women want to be, they say they want to be the all-knowing, but they just want to be the all-known. Now, it's hard and confusing for me because of what I do and what I have done in my past. I tend to just be the all-knowing and never the all-known. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like men would tell me things they would never tell anyone else. And like I'm still a confessional for even these stoic men, because that's what I do as a job now. And that's what I did for a job also in my other job, So that's where it's like, it's complex. Like that's why I'm still single probably, because I'm like, I know too much. I know too much.
Yeah. Well, I get that too. It's like Rollo, you've been doing this for so long, like how do you deal with these chicks? Like fucking like Aaron Clary, it hates our show. Like if I bring him on this show, he's just like, I don't know how you have the patience for this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because it's what I do. And like people will say like, well, Rollo, all the games that these girls are playing, and yet you still play along with it. I go, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why I play along with it. Like when Mike and I talk about like astrology or tarot cards or like, power crystal, Brazilian power crystals. When we talk about that kind of stuff, like Mike's the kind of guy who's like, no, there's no scientific basis to astrology. It's all bullshit, and it's like, what is it? The law of attraction and cosmic juju into the universe. And it's all bullshit. And I'm like, dude, that all you're doing is just killing the vibe, man. You just lean into it and you go, oh, really? Tell me more. That's why I have this. Let's do one of these things every time. I'm like, okay.
Well, because here's the thing, like, you don't have to in astrology. Obviously, like pretty much all men don't. But if you allow me to, if you play into it with me, then what does that signal to me? That you're like interested. You know, you're taking my bid. You're willing to like, you know, let me use my imagination.
Women do not want to be told that they are playing a game. They want you to be a superior player of the game. They want you to play. I tell my guys in all my books this. I said, play with her and play with her. Right? Play with her and play with her.
Yeah.
Right. So, do I know that astrology is bullshit? Do I know that the Brazilian power crystal is not recharged? You know, like I do I know that that's like or energy or vibes? Do I know that that's bullshit, or it's just like terms for dynamics that women don't understand? Like when we talk about when we don't understand a certain technology, like I'm sure you probably, I think it was Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Okay, so if women don't understand why they're attracted to some guy, they call it vibes. It's magic. We just feel it, you know. Don't you know what vibes are? Yes, I do. I know, you know, scientifically what those are. But I'm going to tell you it's vibes anyways, because I'm playing with you, because I'm playing into, oh, he does get me. He's so perceptive. No, I'm not perceptive. I'm just playing your fucking game with you on your terms, because I'm a better player of the game, because I know I know that the Wizard of Oz is actually behind the curtain over here, and I understand how the game is played, but I'm going to play in front of the curtain with you, because I know that that's, well, it's much more fun. It's much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's how women communicate, is through playing that game and the emotional, you know, the back and forth. So when the guys will hit me up and they'll go, Rollo, I can't believe you tolerate this bitch when it comes to astrology and stuff like that. And I go, because do you not think that I know all the shit that's going on behind the, you know, behind the scenes? Would you honestly think that? I know.
And do you think getting angry is going to get you more chicks too?
I actually learned this dynamic because I was on Fresh and Fit, and one of the first shows I did was with this guy Hotep Jesus, and he's a really good friend of mine, black guy, and he knows all the same shit that I know, right? And so when we're on Fresh and Fit and we're surrounded by these girls, he starts vibing with them. I'm just vibing with them, right? He knows the mechanics of it, but he's still going to play and speak the language and do everything else. And now, is he being disingenuous because he's doing that? No, I think he's being more genuine because he now understands how to get from point A to point B. He's playing with the girl, and there's a reason why you're doing that. But if then they'll ask me, well, what's going on here, Rollo? What's the dynamics? And I'm Mr. Wizard, and I'm the guy who explains the game. If I go, okay, you're giving me a shit test right now, and I can respond with A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
Like I'm Mr. like Excel spreadsheet guy, because I've got it all down to rote memorization. Or if I tell you, the reason you're attracted to me right now is because because I have broad shoulders and I have a six-pack abs, and you know, evolutionarily speaking, I was a good bet for fucking at that time because I could take down woolly mammoths. And if I go and I tell you, you know what you want to do? You don't know why, but you want to punch me in the face. Yeah. Because I'm not playing the game with you. I'm explaining the game.
I remember saying to the kid, the 25-year-old, and I wrote about this, I was like, it's like I'd known him for centuries and also not at all. And I said that to him, and he was like, I know, right? He totally, I'm like, for a 25-year-old, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. And I even know he's not, you know what I mean? I'm even aware that this, like, he's intelligent enough to not believe what I'm telling myself, but he still gets the game. Exactly.
Well, there's a concept. It's actually a practical, and it's called amused mastery. So like I use it especially when it comes to astrology and stuff like that. It's the woman wants to tell you something. You go, oh, really? Tell me, tell me, like, tell me something you know that I don't, right? You know, and you're just kind of like, you know, but it's like you've seen it all. Yeah. Like when my daughter was like 7 years old, she did the same thing. So, Daddy, did you know the dinosaurs did X, Y, and Z or something? Like, oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, like it's that, you know already, but you're like, really? Yeah. And so you carry on the conversation.
Yeah. And does that mean that you don't love your daughter? No. Does that mean that you're not interested? You know,
am I manipulative
your
son
daughter?
of a bitch?
Exactly.
Yes.
because you're lying about Santa Claus, or not, like, telling her the truth.
Or she learned something new at school. She desperately wants to tell you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like I learned this 90 years ago, but okay, tell me all about it, kind of thing. Yeah. That attitude. If you can carry that over into your relationships with like women, where you don't have to be a condescending prick about it. You just have to be like, oh, really?
Endearing.
Tell me more about this astrology. I did this once. Get the name. I think one of these black chicks that was on our show one time. She looks at me. She goes, you really need to have your chakras aligned. And I'm like, I do?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do I do? And so she's like, she comes up to me and she starts feeling on me and feeling my chest. And now, like wherever the chakra points are, I have no fucking idea.
And all of a sudden you're getting a prostate massage.
I know. And I like, she's just like loving on me. And like, I'll give you, I'm like, I like this shit. Yeah, please. Yeah. As soon as she comes through the next one, I'm like, can I get my chakra?
Yeah. That chakra thing you did.
I know
really...
I know it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play the game because it's better. It leaves a better taste in her mouth instead of me going, well, chakras are bullshit. And the reason why you're doing this is because you really just want to fill me up or that kind of stuff. If I say something like that, then it's like breaking character. Yeah. Have you been to a Renaissance fair and everybody's like, how are the fine wenchly maiden? Like they're always in character, right? But the minute they go, hey man, you look pretty good. Can I get your number? Like if they break character, that's essentially the same dynamic. Like, it's all bullshit, but you're playing along. You're playing a role. Yeah. Whether it's cosplay or you're at the Renaissance fair or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. You breaking character is not a good thing. And
it's also no fun.
Later on, when you have a relationship and you can get something that's more meaningful, then the dynamic changes a little bit more because now you know each other. And it's like, you wake up in the morning, you smell each other's breath.
Yeah, fuck your star sign.
Yeah, what's your... you know what the guy's farts smell like.
Yeah.
And so, so all the pretentious bullshit kind of falls away. Yeah. But then there's another game that you play once you get into a relationship that you still want to be playful and you still want to, like one of the things with my wife right now is she knows what I do, right? So we fuck around with it. Like we're playing a game, but we're just playing a different kind of game, like in a relationship than you would when you're just like first start dating and you like getting shit tests and like, is this guy really who he says he is? None of that applies after 29 years of marriage, right? You know who I am. But there's still kind of, you just keep a little bit of guessing. My wife says, I trust you 95%. Yeah. It's the 5%. Yeah. That works. Yeah. That's where the game is and that's where the fun is.
Well, my parents have been together for 42 years. My dad's a touring musician, that's why they're still together. And they both say like the reason it works is because A, he was away a lot, but B, and I really believe he's never cheated. Like I would bet my life on that. It's just I've seen him around a lot of tempting situations, but like they're so different, and that cultivates this mystery, and that's what keeps it interesting for them. They still bicker. If you're in indifference, that's when you're fucked. The opposite of like love isn't hate, it's indifference, right? So like I've seen that work firsthand. Some of you may have found this podcast through my work as a sexologist. What you might not know is that I support individuals in deepening their relationship to their sexuality. So whether that means working through performance issues, inability to orgasm, repressed desire, low libido, problem sexual behavior, shame, or disconnection from the body, I use a biopsychosocial spiritual framework that I developed in order to help people rewire their outdated patterns and integrate their sexual selves. Because how you relate to your sexuality is how you relate to everything. Go to www.coralosborne.com/podcast for more information about working with me and to sign up for access to tools, offers, and insights exclusively for listeners. Obviously, we got to go to fuck her good. Fuck her.
Oh yeah.
But I want to read this.
You have to, okay. Read.
Fuck her like it's your last fuck and hers. Fuck her so good, so hard, so wantonly that she is left quivering, sparking mass of shaking flesh and sex fluids.
So leave her in a pool of her own fluids.
Drain her of everything, then drain her some more. Kiss her all over, make love to her all night, and hold her close in the morning. Own her body, own her gratitude, own her love. If you don't know how, learn to give her squirting orgasms. Yes. I love that's how it ends. Okay.
I'm still not so sure that squirting orgasms were real.
Well, also, I was going to say, you don't just have an orgasm because you're squirting, but that's a whole other conversation. But I love that because that, for me, expresses like holistic sexuality. It's like make love, but then have primal sexuality, like do all of it, the full spectrum. It shouldn't just be one dimensional. Like, okay, so
again, this is Royce writing this, but I 100% like endorse the idea. Sex is the glue that holds a relationship together. Okay, without that, you don't have a relationship. You're just roommates. And I've gotten into it with like, especially these religious like the tradcon women who are basically conservative feminists, but tradcon women are like, oh, men don't actually need sex. I'm like, when a woman says that, believe her and move on because that woman is not for you. Yep. I don't care what, how cosmic she thinks the experience ought to be. As I told you before, I'm a sensualist. Okay. I'm not a hedonist. I'm a sensualist.
Yeah.
Okay. So what that means is I like sensation. Okay. And I think that a lot of people, really what it boils down to is appetite. Okay. It doesn't matter. You can dress it up however you want. People have appetites, whether you're hungry. It just like, do you get the choice of being hungry? No, your stomach's empty. You've got at some point you want to eat. Okay. And the same thing applies to sexuality. The same thing applies to a lot of other things too. It might be your drive. It might be your ambition. It's not just about sex. But I think when it does apply to sex, it needs to be something that's fully experiential. Okay. And I don't think enough guys really, like most guys, their idea of sex is transactional.
Yeah.
I have to, and I don't mean that in the sense of, paying a prostitute. It could amount to, that's the direct route. But it could amount to, I have to do these things and jump through these hoops and be this way and be this kind of guy. Because if I'm not, then a girl's not going to find me attractive and I'm not going to complete my reproductive, mission in life, right? Solve my reproductive problem. That's the ultimate outcome. Solve my reproductive problem. But along the way, the proximate outcome is it needs to be like, sex needs to be urgent. It needs to have anxiety. Like people say, oh, you got to be comfortable. No, it's exactly the opposite. It's like, the polarity is what keeps men and women together.
And I also think you can have novelty, and you would know with one person. If you have all of those other elements, you can create crazy novelty with one person.
Yeah, it's important
because it's the vibes.
It is, but you still have to be the guy that she wants to fuck.
Yeah.
Even at 29 years of marriage, you still have to be the guy that she wants to fuck. She's like, okay, I'm with you forever, right? So, but I think a lot of guys think that they can just cruise once they get into it. Well, the Bible says you're supposed to have duty sex with me, so you're supposed to fuck me no matter what. Yeah. And so, guys slip into, getting, I can't blame just women about this. It's the guys who just sort of get too comfortable. Women get too comfortable.
Or like jackhammer and then turn over,
Yeah. I mean, you want to know why like OnlyFans and pornography is so popular amongst married men is because they're in a situation where they can't be experimental with their wives, because they're worried that their wives are going to, I want to do it.
Yeah. Madonna whore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I married a prude. I married a whore who fucks like a prude.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think men like need both in a marriage? Like, how do you?
Every man loves a slut. He just wants her to be his slut.
Yeah.
So like when guys like tell me like, oh, I want a girl who's a pure girl from the,
Fuck those guys.
the old country, and she's got to be a virgin. I want a virgin bride, which is like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But
you're gonna get fucking bored.
But the thing is they think that they're going to teach that girl to be a porn star. She's my porn, but she's your slut. That's really what it is. When men want sluts, they love sluts.
Yeah.
They just want her to be his slut.
Yeah. They want her to choose him.
Only for him, right? I want to do, I'm a virgin, but I want to do everything imaginable with you. Or they want the reformed slut, right? It's
like girls want the reformed bad boy.
Well, guys who are or like women who like get out of porn and they're like, you know what? And they find Jesus. And those are like the prime demographic for like the youth pastor, right? He wants to get with a reformed slut. She's still a slut, but she's his slut. And she's also loves Jesus. It's like Nala Fit. I don't know if you're familiar with Nala Fit, but she was like a prime OnlyFans girl, cum face girl, and she was just this side of Belle Delphine, right? And she got with the guy. She had got baptized. I still think it's all a grift, but she got baptized. She's got like these classes on how to be a good Christian woman. All of a sudden, she's basically gone from OnlyFans to like doing grifting classes and stuff like that. She made a shit ton of money on OnlyFans for sure. Yeah, which she still hangs on to even in her religious state. Yeah. But the thing is like she's an archetype or a character that I think that like a lot of guys who are sort of traditional conservatives, they want that girl who's a slut or even a former reformed slut, but they want her to be his slut. Yeah. I married this slut because I married this girl because now she loves Jesus, but boy, does she know how to suck a dick. Right. And so it's that fantasy right there. But in all of that, there is the sex act, there is the fucking, and I'm of the opinion that like I want to fight, I want to fuck, I want to lift, I want to write music, I want to drive fast cars, I want to like I got into it with Sneeko one time, And I was like, I told this kid, I was like, you know what? You know how I want to die? I want to die in my Camaro driving 160 miles an hour and, you know, smash into a wall or something like that, listening to Slayer, Angel of Death. That's what I want to do. That you want to know how I want to go out. I don't want to be on my deathbed in some assisted living facility with no one around me and like dying from pneumonia conditions or some shit like that. I do not want that.
Yeah.
I would much
or dementia.
If I had to pick between those two,
yeah,
I'm gonna die in my Camaro listening to Slayer rather than go out that way. Oh, you want to be surrounded by all the friends and loved ones. It's like
you die alone.
It's like a lifetime television, you know, Hallmark edition of How to Die a Peaceful Good Death, right? And you're going to be grandpa and you're going to be in your deathbed, and it's like, okay, it's okay to let go. Go into the light, you know. And it's like, you know, you're surrounded by your wife and your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids, and they're all just holding your hand as you like pass into the next life, which is just horse shit.
Yeah,
it is like most people die in assisted living facilities, and they die in the middle of the night, and
alone.
you're just alone, and you're just cleaned up the next morning. It's basically what it is. And so for me to go and say I want to die in my car, to these guys, they like, oh, that's horrible. Why would you want? Like, because you're a fucking pussy. That's why, right? Yeah. And that's the sensationalist in me coming out saying, like, I would rather go out that it's better to burn out than fade away.
Yeah.
I would much rather go out that way. I would much rather have sex with you or my wife or whoever in the most passionate, most sweaty, most like hot, like if you're doing it right, you know,
like your life fucking
like your life depends on it. Then like I love it when people say like, I want to have sex 4 or 5 times a week. I don't. I want to have sex twice a week.
Totally with you.
And I want it on a Tuesday and a Saturday. And each time I want you to rip my fuck. I want you to show up in the hottest lingerie that you picked out that you think that I would like. And I want to be able to take that off piece by piece from you. I want to, turn down the air conditioning so we're just a little bit sweaty, or right after a workout, like right after I've had 450 pounds across my back, I want to be able to come home from a hard workout and you go, you know what, I really want to fuck you right now. Like that right there is way, way more meaningful. Oh, you talk about meaningless sex and meaningful sex. The most meaningless sex that people will have will be in a marriage with their wives.
Routine.
That's what it'll be.
Routine, anything.
That is meaningless sex.
Yeah.
Not fucking random hoes.
Yeah.
It's you being in a lifelong situation with a woman who's kind of like, are you done yet? I got laundry to fold and we got to pick up the kids at 3.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. Do you ever see, best example I can think of. Do you ever see the movie American Beauty with Kevin Spacey in it? Remember the couch scene when he's like, because he just quit his job and he bought like a sports car and everything with his severance package that he like blackmailed the guy for. He just basically has this complete like 180 shift in his personality. And he has his estranged wife is suddenly now she's attracted to him, wants to fuck him, and they're about to fuck on the couch. And suddenly she wants to have monkey sex with him and she's ready to do it. And he's got a beer in his hand and he's just making out with her and getting after it with her. And he's got the beer and the beer's just about to slip and like fall onto the couch. And she's like this, like looking at the beer. And he looks at it and he goes, what? And he goes, you're going to spill a beer on the couch. And he gets up and he goes, it's a fucking couch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you get into that's the parallel between like the hot, like really good urgency, anxiety based sex.
Yeah.
And then the woman's like, you're going to spill the beer on the carpet or something like that. And it's because she's not in the moment. She's looking at, she's more concerned. I want to be with a woman who's going to say, give me the beer, throw it across the window, throw it across the, like not care about anything else in the world, as opposed to being preoccupied with something else, like being self-conscious of the beer, being self-conscious of yourself, being self-conscious. Like you need to, when you do sex right, you need to, it has to be an out-of-body person.
Yeah.
It has to be, you have to be in the third person.
Like time is relative. That's what I love that you said, I don't want to have sex fucking every night. Neither do I. People assume this of me. They're like, oh, I must be some nympho that just like fucks a bunch of people. And I'm like, no, when I do though, when I sleep with someone, it's because it's like I'm consumed by it.
Mhm.
It's like I'm fully present. I'm in flow state, whatever the fuck that means. Was it 2 minutes? Was it 2 hours? I have no clue. Like that's life
Yes.
force. That's why I'm on this fucking planet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and then it's like, you got to be, so as a guy, you got to be able to deliver that. It's good. Dickmatizer, right? You have to be able to be the guy that she can't forget. Like the next day, God damn, man, last night was fucking great. Like that kind of stuff. Especially if you've got a wife of 29 years and the next morning she goes, that was pretty good last night. You know, like when
that's a win.
You're on. You're doing it right. Right. When you can create memorable sexual experiences, I'm not saying every single time.
Yeah.
But like,
well, then they wouldn't be memorable. You can't have memorable every single time. Like you need peak erotic experiences to compare and contrast.
But here's the thing: is that's the benchmark.
Yeah,
that's the metric by which you're going to measure whether your sex life, whether you're married or not, is where it's at. It's like you got to give it, like, it's maximum effort, man. It's like Deadpool, maximum effort.
Yeah.
It's and I'm, maybe that's just me, but I think that that. As I said, sex is the glue that holds a relationship together, and the better the sex that you have, the tighter and more strong your relationship is. It's
another language in and of itself.
It's fucking healthy. It's like my worst. Like I know these guys are talking about like, oh, sex on a quota. I would much rather have sex twice a week, as intensely and as passionately as possible, than have starfish sex 5 times a week.
Yeah.
I want every time I have sex to be something that's like memorable enough, because like you're creating memories is what you're doing, and at the end of your life, it's not going to be your trophies on the shelf, it's not going to be your accolades, it's going to be your body of work, and it's going to be the amount of memories that you have and you share with other people, right?
Yeah.
So money's great, but if I can use that money to have experiences, like I like to drive fast cars. I like my jet skis. When I lived in Reno, I had snowmobiles, and I mean, dangerous shit, right? Like I would almost die as Aaron Clary will never let me forget. I set one of my sleds on fire once. But like these near-death experiences have always happened on snowmobiles for some reason. Like I've had snowmobiles
not from sex, from snowmobiles.
Yeah, I've rolled over them on me, but like that's the kind of intensity that I want to feel in sex.
Yeah.
So, like to the point where it's like, oh, that was so dangerous, I almost died on that snowmobile. I'm never like the logical thing was, I never want to do that again. No, I go out and I get it fixed, and I go out the next fucking weekend and go and do the same damn thing and go backcountry again. Yeah. Because it's like moth to a flame kind of thing. Yeah. And I think if you don't have to be that intense about it, but if you can apply that principle of intensity to your sex life, and your work life and your marriage and your, being with other people, like if you're single and you're dating and stuff, like, be intentional. Don't be tepid. Don't be tepid. You have to, I think it's, what is it? Robert Greene was saying, you need to be that oasis in the desert. You need to be somebody who can create stories. You need to be somebody who is so like, so magnetic that people go to you because they want to find out what your latest experience has been. And the only way you can
go to my Substack.
Yes. The only way you can do that is have like gangbangs with lacrosse teams. Yes.
Hockey. It was hockey.
Yes.
It was hockey.
Oh,
yeah. A couple more questions because I know we have to wrap it up. Have you changed your mind about anything? About ideologically or what?
Mike Sartain actually made me change my mind about how men and women can be friends. That I used to be and the reason why I was this way, the reason I used to think that men and women couldn't be friends, like platonic friends, is because guys always fall into women's frames when they become friends. Usually guys become friends with women because they give them the let's just be friends rejection. Like, oh, okay, I'll be your friend. Yeah. And so I think a lot of guys sort of buy into this idea that men and women could be platonic friends. And if you just stay her friend long enough, then eventually she'll develop feelings for you. You're saying long there's game. A chance, that kind of shit. And so I was always of the opinion that guys would end up using sort of friendship as sort of a form of game, which was always self-defeating because it limited them from other opportunities, right? So I was always of the opinion that men and women could not be friends because we base our friendship, our understanding of friendship, on our same-sex friends. So when I said, for example, women have boyfriends and girlfriends. If you're not fucking her, you're her girlfriend. People like lose their minds when I say that, but it's really based on our reference to what our frame of reference is with friendships. So when a guy becomes a woman's friend, he tends to adopt the attitude of being a girlfriend, like being I'm there for you, girl, you know? And if he starts communicating to that new female friend in the same way that her girlfriends do, her mind can't make the separation between those. And so now he becomes another girlfriend. And so most men slip over when they want to be friends with a woman, they slip over into becoming one of her girlfriends. Now, the reason I changed my mind about that is because Mike has a lot of friends who are female, right? But his attitude is this: I treat all of my girlfriends as if they're my guy friends. So he does. It's his friend. It's about frame, right? So his frame is, if you're going to be his friend as a girl, then he's going to treat you like one of the guys. And what that does is it forces the woman to come over and communicate with him on a male specific form of communication. Like, so if you want to be his friend, you got to go be able to play Madden, and you got to go play, NCAA sports, or, on this game, or you want to go to the clubs or whatever. He's using his female friends as, I don't say pivots, but as well, maybe that's a good way, as pivots to say, well, she has hot female friends that I might want to fuck, and she wants to be my friend. She's going to build me up. And it's almost like having a female
What's
wingman.
it called? He calls it something. Mate. What is it? It's like
mate choice copying.
Mate choice copying.
If you show up with a hot chick, then other chicks. It's a form of pre-selection, is what it is. If I show up to a cult, like I did last night, if I show up with like two girls on, as I'm going to the party or the club, that says more about me to broadcasts to all the other available chicks that are in the club. That
Pre-vetted.
I'm already pre-selected by these two girls that are with me right now, and I'm not really with them. They're just hanging out with me. That's kind of like generating pre-selection. And so it's just by perception. They might not even know who those girls are, but if you see that guy in the middle of some of Mike's most successful, like most engaged pictures are where he's like in the middle of all these girls who are like this line of bikini models or something. Or if I'm like at Tao nightclub, I have this one picture. You've probably seen it. It's in my Instagram. And it's me. I was trying to dress up as Ken from the Ken and Barbie thing, but everybody thought I was Ric Flair. Because I was shirtless, and I had like this big fluffy kind of like jacket on kind of thing, and I had this blonde wig that I had on. But I'm in there, and I'm surrounded by probably like 7 girls, and I got, Jennifer Brand is like right in between my legs and this whole thing. And it's one of the most engaged pictures that I have. Yeah. And you would think it would be the opposite. Oh, this guy's so full of himself. Oh, he's a player or whatever. Like, if you know me, I'm not a player. I'm married, for fuck's sake. Yeah. But that image generated more engagement because it's all about perception. Yeah. And what's the perception? The perception is pre-selection. Yeah. And so when I talk, but the pre-selections, those girls are just my friends. I'm not fucking any of them. Yeah.
I'm the best girlfriend a guy can have. I've gotten so many of my guy friends laid in relationships, whatever, because also I'm a very opinionated person. I talk about it a lot. So they're like, oh, here's this woman that's intelligent enough and like has things to say, and she's cool, so it's like, if he's friends with her, I can trust him. He respects her, I can trust him. Like, it's hilarious to watch. Yeah.
So like, I have changed my mind about the female friendship thing, but only in the sense that like, he gave me a new understanding of it. In that, like, if a guy wants to be friends with a girl, the girl has to go into his frame and not the opposite way around. And that's where guys make the mistake, because they think that being friends with a girl is a form of game. Yeah. And what happens is then they slip into identifying with that woman and then communicating with her as one of her girlfriends. That's why, ergo, women have boyfriends and girlfriends. If you're not fucking her, you're her girlfriend, because you're more than likely falling into her frame and you're communicating as a female would with another friend, because it's same-sex friend. Yeah. Like for men and women and women. Yeah. And so what we do is we try to find some sort of happy medium between those two that never really works out. So if you're going to be a woman's friend, it's got to be on your terms, not hers. So like I always ask guys this, well, you're a friend, really? Do you go over and paint nails with her? Or do you like, what do you do? Like, what do you do as a male friend? Do you go bowling together?
Yeah.
Do you go to the movies? Like,
Because I'm the bro friend. So
what do
now
you
this
do?
makes a lot
What
of
do you
sense.
do? Like,
Yeah.
and for most part, it's like, oh, we go to clubs.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
What a good friend. What
yeah,
a solid,
exactly. Like,
emotional.
I mean, like, what, like, do you have some shared interests? Do you
Mhm.
have hobbies? Do you have sports? Like, what is it? 9 times out of 10, there's no crossover.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be friends with a woman, it's got to be on the man's frame. It's got to be in the man's terms. So that changed my mind about that. So,
Well, we're friends now.
yeah, we are. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. That was awesome. We could keep talking. We
Yeah, we'll do
obviously
this
have to do
again.
this again.
You'll
Yeah.
come out here again,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Where can we find you and what are you up to?
I am doing my Reignite program with my guys. They're usually anywhere between like 35 and 65, somewhere around there. I initiated this group for guys to sort of not only just like be my group, but also be their own group, like so that they're helping each other out and stuff as well. So, I mean, I facilitate, events, and I facilitate, the communication and everything. We talk about money, muscle, health, wealth, and relationships is the nice way of saying it. But it's just helping guys sort of get back on the horse again, like after a divorce, or maybe some of these guys never were on the horse in the first place. They were like sort of, they're wealthy and affluent, but they just simply lack the social skills of like getting what they want, which may be a relationship, may be a wife, might be a girlfriend. And a lot of these guys who are coming out of bad divorces after 25 years, they don't know what the sexual landscape, the dating landscape looks like. So it's meant to help those guys sort of like course correct, I guess, when it comes to like their style and how to communicate and how important like Instagram is and social media is, and just sort of helping them giving them the best chance that they can after having been out of the game for so long. And then, but it's more than that. It's also sort of a camaraderie, and it's definitely tribal. And we do cool things. We went to the gun range this week. We went to go play Top Golf. We were going to go do quads, but it was just too bloody hot. Now, right after this, we're going to go to Bel Air. I'm just going to hang.
Yeah, we're hanging out.
To hang out.
Yeah,
and that's like we do classroom settings, and sometimes we have the communication drills with girls there so that they can test their communication, so they give them feedback on it. We do stuff like that. We do like I do talks. We have a weekly call on Zoom that we do, and then we have a school group like everybody else does, so we can bounce ideas off of each other. It's just basically a collective of guys amongst the same kind of demographic.
Yeah.
And I did this because that's like 45 to 65 is the prime demographic for male suicide.
Wow.
And so I want to keep the noose off these guys' necks, and I want to keep the gun out of their mouths. And it's me actually doing something. And that's why I feel like these days, like when we sort of malign the Manosphere with, with Andrew Tate and whoever else, I think a lot of people have, like, the mainstream has a really bad image of what the Manosphere is. So these guys are just taking money from these insecure dudes, right? It's like, that's not at all what we're doing.
No, I met a few of them last night and the day before, and they were awesome.
Yeah.
They were great. And I didn't understand, like, initially that the intention is to get these men in relationships. It's because they want to date. It's because, it's not because they want to bag a bunch of chicks. Like, that's the
most guys, it's funny is a lot of guys think that all we're doing is selling them, like, game skills or pickup artistry skills so that they can go out and get their notch counts up because they measure their dicks by how many girls they fuck. Not at all. Most of these guys, they just want to get into a relationship and a good, healthy relationship. And can you use what we teach you to go fuck a bunch of girls? Sure, if you want. But most guys don't want that. They just want to get a date or second date, right? They just want to be able to form a relationship, and they're just lacking the social skills to do so or the know-how. And we're just helping them sort of reintegrate themselves back into a very, stranger in a strange land, man. We're just reintegrating them back into a sexual marketplace, a global sexual marketplace that they're just unfamiliar with. And so I don't see how that's in any way, misogynistic or anything like that, but we get lumped into Mike's group as well. We get MOA, we get lumped into all that. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just about done with the 6th book, which is called Reignite as well, which is to help exactly these guys. And it's more of a holistic approach to the red pill. It interconnects separate concepts that are really synergistic with the other one.
So it'll be my favorite book. Is
it
what
will.
you're saying.
It will be your favorite. It probably will be your favorite book because, like, when I talk about
I'll write the foreword.
when I talk about mental point of origin, or I talk about the burden of performance for men, right? Men must become, right? That all ties into frame, right? All those things build into frame. Okay, what does frame do? Well, frame. Well, we've had a really long conversation about frame. And then, all of these things that are like concepts that have been developed over the course of like last 20 years, I'm putting them together so guys can take that coherency and apply it. This book is much more applicable. It's more of it, like people say, well, the red pill is long on rhetoric and short on like actual thing. This is the book you want for actual practicality. So I'm kind of breaking protocol a little bit here. And I'm not in the business of like sort of giving people prescriptions, but I can give you suggestions. I'm an analyst. I'm not a guru. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, telling you what to do, but I can give you the tools and I can give you the education so you can figure out what you would do. And so that's what the next book is really going to be about. It's connecting all these sort of disparate concepts and sort of saying, well, this plays in. This is why is frame important? Well, how do I build frame? How do I get confidence? Burden of performance. What is a burden of performance dependent upon? Mindset and mental point of origin. Go into those things. And those are just a few of the concepts that I go into. There's
When's
dozens of other. By the end of this month. By end of August. So
awesome.
yeah, I'm just about done, about 90% done right now.
And where can we find you online?
You can find me, you can find all my books on Amazon.com. The Rational Mail, just look up The Rational Mail. You'll find all 5 of them on there. And then you can, if you want to contact me direct, you can always find me on Instagram. And then I'm at rational_mail. And then I'm really active on Twitter, probably more than I should be. But don't judge me by my Twitter. But I am at Rollo Tomassi at Rational Mail.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Of course. We'll do it again.
Thank you for listening today. You can follow us on the Next Man Up _pod on Instagram or on YouTube at Next Man Up with Coral. Please feel free to slide into my DMs with any thoughts, feelings, or praise, and let me know who you think should be the next man up.